Senator Johnson. Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move further proceedings under the roll call be dispensed with and the Sergeant at Arms be instructed to bring in the absent members.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, the motion does prevail. The Secretary will close the roll. Members, we have three different actions here. First, pursuant to Rule 12.5, Senator Westrom moved that the following members be excused for a conference committee on House File 4366 at 2:45 p.m. Senators Westrom, Draheim, Dornick, Pratt, and Dietzig. Pursuant to Rule 12.5, Senator Abler moves that the following members be excused from for a conference committee on Senate File 4410 at 2:30 p.m. Senators Abler, Utke, Karan, Benson, and Hoffman. And pursuant to Rule 12.5, Senator Ingebretson moved that the following members be excused for a conference committee on Senate File 4062 at 2:30 p.m. Senators Ingebretson, Tomassoni, Eichhorn, Weber, and Eakin. Remaining under motions and resolutions, we refer to those were motions. To those motions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion does prevail. Remaining under motions and resolutions, Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Today we have House File 3669 before us. Mr. President?
Senator Nelson.
Thank you so much. And before we begin, Mr. President, I do want to offer the A17. It's technical correction. So if
Senator
do you have
Nelson
the A27?
Senator Nelson moves the A17 Amendment.
A27.
A27 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Nelson moves to amend House File number 3669 as follows. Page 39, line 15. Delete were. This is the A27 Amendment.
To the A27 Amendment, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This has just three corrections to the bill that will come before you in House File 3669. It reinstates original language regarding public safety pension subtraction. That's in lines, the first few lines. Second section corrects cross-references for sales tax exemption for construction materials for our schools districts. And the last part, there's a typo on line 1.3, and the last part just corrects the numbers for the charitable gaming modifications in the bill before us.
Discussion of the A27 Amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor of the A27 amendment signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion does prevail. The amendment is adopted. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. And to the bill as amended. Members, this omnibus bill provides permanent, ongoing tax relief. That's what you will see in the bill before you today. And before we get into the particulars of this great tax relief bill, let me just recall where we are today. Today, Minnesotans have overpaid their taxes. They have paid for more than Minnesota state government requires. In fact, they have done so to the tune of now we're looking at about $11 billion. Our forecast was $9.25 billion over the forecast for the forecast. Since that time, we have seen revenues continue to increase beyond projections. Just yesterday, the April revenues came in and they were tabulated at $1.15 billion over forecast. Minnesotans are paying more in taxes than what this body, what this government has deemed necessary. Our budget continues to grow at pretty fast clips, $50 billion, next budget $52 billion. So our budget is growing at pretty fast pace, and yet our revenues to the state are far surpassing even that fast budget increase. And in addition, members, I know you're going to hear things like, well, what if revenues slow down? What if the economy turns? Well, yes, economies do that. We've all lived through some of those times. But we have something different here. We have a $2.5 billion surplus, or $2.5 billion in reserves. So all said, we're looking at about $12 billion of tax money that has come into this state that is far beyond what is needed to fund our government. This bill today before you follows through on what we promised, which was permanent, ongoing tax relief. It does so, much as you saw in the tax bill. In fact, is the same language that you saw in the tax bill that we had great bipartisan support for on this floor on April 7th. I think it was about 42 votes. This bill in front of us today reflects that same total Senate tax relief priority, $8.65 billion of tax relief over 3 years. In addition, there's about $177.9 million in additional tax relief and $37.7 million to support property tax relief. That's what you will see today. And just to kind of give you the full lay of the land, members, by comparison, the governor's proposal is about $2.9 billion over 3 years, and of course most of that is for those Walls checks, those one-time checks that will be taxed and could put some in higher tax brackets. And then the House DFL plan is $3.2 billion of tax relief over 3 years, and that's largely a mix of targeted tax relief and about $500 million in new spending for local spending. So members, the bill before us is the bill that Minnesotans need. The bill before us here is the bill that will return those excess, additional, more than needed for adequate payments to the taxpayers. Specifically, there are a few broad provisions that I will mention. It includes all the tax provisions that we voted on April 7th. I'll just go over those briefly. Reduces the first tier rate of individual income tax for all filers. If you pay income tax, you get a reduction. Takes that from 5.35 to 2.8%. This is effective beginning tax year, effective tax year 2022. It also eliminates all of the Minnesota income tax on Social Security benefits, also beginning tax year 2022. It selectively conforms to the individual income tax and corporate franchise tax to the many federal changes that have happened since 2019. We've had about 5 large federal tax bills. This bill before us includes great conformity to those items. It will provide simpler filing for Minnesotans and also will often reduce their taxes. And there is an innovative one-time true-up provision, so all of those different conformity items can be trued up in this 1 year. It also includes an estate tax portability provision. This was authored by Senator Coleman, and it allows the surviving spouse to elect to transfer the amount of the deceased spouse unused estate tax exclusion. It also includes $177.9 million in additional relief. I want to tell you about that. We are focused on family priorities with a new tax credit for parental leave expenses. Innovative. Let's do that. It enhances the child independent care credit as well as the K-12 credit and subtraction. This bill also supports our communities and our economic development through the repeal of the sunset of the historic structure rehabilitation credit. That will continue. It will continue without a break, and it will continue without a sunset. And it also has support for the new market tax credit. And finally, members, this bill brings long-sought tax relief for charitable gaming through an expansion of the current first bracket and also a rate reduction within that bracket. It targets tax relief to encourage businesses to innovate through extension of the angel investor tax credit, and it makes modest adjustments as well to the R&D tax credit. As I said, it enhances the child independent tax credit. That is a phase-out threshold moved up to $70,000 before that starts to phase out. That is Senator Pratt bill. The K-12 credit, this is a Senator Rest bill. It uses the FAGI as a basis for qualifying, and it also increases the phase-out threshold to $50,000, and it's indexed for inflation. In addition, there's the K-12 subtraction. That is my bill, and the amounts are increased by 50% and indexed for inflation. Those two work together to help all Minnesotans with their education credit or subtraction, whichever works better for them, to help their students, their children. It also establishes a tax credit for, as I mentioned, the eligible parental leave expenditure. This is a Senator Coleman bill. Next, we have, as I mentioned, the repeal of the sunset on the historic structure rehabilitation credit. That is Senator Miller and Senator Senjum's bill. And I mentioned the angel investor tax credit is extended for 1 year. It's a Nelson bill. We have a Senator Clausen bill here, which establishes a credit for preceptors. A preceptor means that advanced practiced registered nurse, physician assistant, or mental health professional who served as a health profession student preceptor during the taxable year but did not receive compensation for their services. Again, trying to build that pipeline for our healthcare workers. There is a subtraction for eligible public safety pension income. This is a Senator Howe provision intended to try and keep those incredibly well-trained senior public safety officers in service longer, encouraging them not to take that early retirement that all too many are doing. In addition, there's a subtraction for the Nuclear Decommissioning Trust Fund. That's a Senator Pratt bill. It appears that the Department of Revenue was looking at taxing something that's already being taxed over in Pennsylvania. In addition, it establishes the R&D tax credit, as I mentioned. There's also a new tax credit, members, for new market tax credit. This is a new market tax credit that will mirror and work well with the federal credit that is run through the U.S. Department of Treasury. It's intended to incentivize community development and economic growth through the use of tax credits that attract private investment to distressed communities. It's worked well in other states. We think it can work well in Minnesota too. That's one of my provisions, as is adopting tax conformity for the 529 plans that would be used for private school tuition. As you know, the federal government allows 529 plans to be used for private school tuition. Minnesota should as well. It's a very small item. It's about a triennial number of $300,000. There would not be a lot of funds built up and increases on those funds in those short years of those early education years. As I mentioned, the charitable gaming tax relief, first bracket, expanding that and reducing the rate from 9% to 5%. Senator Brock's bill, sales tax exemption on the suite license, food and beverage and amenities. Again, a little bit of a reinterpretation, it seemed, from the department in how that should be taxed. We are just clarifying that. Senator Rarick has a bill that expands the machinery sales tax exemption to include agricultural fencing. This was something that we actually heard during the drought, that this agricultural fencing was being taxed, and so we provided a sales tax exemption for that. Senator Rosen has a sales tax exemption for nonprofit animal shelters, and again, then I have a bill exempting the polar vortex-related natural gas changes. You might remember those 5 days of very high energy costs due to the polar vortex that socked Texas, for one, and how that impacted us as well. And those days were so costly that the Public Utilities Commission is spreading out those payments over about 63 months so that it's not hitting the consumers so high. But in Minnesota, your utilities are taxed in the summertime, even though the event occurred in the wintertime. So we had to clarify our language for that. Then we have Senator Limmer's sales and use tax exemption for construction materials for the North Metro Range. We have a sales and use tax exemption for construction materials for school district projects that have been delayed until July 1. That will be delayed until July 1 of 2024. That will help our schools as they try to manage these high construction costs. And actually, most of us feel that having one unit of government tax another unit of government is not very good business. So last year, we exempted public safety facilities from paying sales and use tax on construction expenses. Today, we'll be doing the same for our schools. Again, helping hold down those property taxes. We also made some modifications to the pass-through entity. This body did that last year. We've clarified that a little bit. It was a non-budget item, but I want you to know about it. It just makes it a little more easy to use. And then we adopted Senator Dietzig's report regarding the beginning farmer tax credit to include race and social demographic information. And I think that will be helpful as we move forward and look to expanding that in the future, we would hope. And lastly, members, we have Senator Bach's bill regarding, actually it was an amendment, always an amendment, it's an inside joke there, use of taconite proceeds for a school consolidation account. So we have that. And then before I get to our property tax subcommittee chair, I do want to just list the local option sales taxes. We always have a number of those, and this year was a little bit different, largely because of construction, COVID-related supply chain bottlenecks and that kind of thing. Senator Bach has the lodging tax extension in Cook County. Senator Dames has the local option sales tax extension for Marshall. Senator Howe has a local option sales tax extension for Waite Park. Senator Rude has one for Aitkin. Senator Uckey has a local option sales tax extension for Black Duck. Senator Wicklund has one for Bloomington. Senator Eaton has the Brooklyn Center local option sales tax. Senator Johnson has the East Grand Forks local option sales tax. Senator Rest has the Golden Valley local option sales tax. Senator Newman has the Henderson local option sales tax. Senator Utke has the lodging tax for Lake of the Woods County. Senator Bach has the local option sales tax for Proctor. Senator Jasinski has the local option sales tax for Rice County. Senator Isaacson has the local option sales tax for Roseville. Senator Miller for Winona County. Senator Utke for Park Rapids, and Senator Uyghur for Oakdale. And also, and Rochester has a local option sales tax as well. This bill also provides a temporary increase in already authorized local sales tax projects that had already been authorized before the fluctuating construction costs and the COVID-related shortages. These projects could have authorization for $3 million more to account for those pandemic cost overruns, obviously provided there is a resolution from the cities. And it applies to projects that are still pending referendum approval. So with that, members, I would like to turn this over to Senator Weber to speak about the numerous property tax provisions in this bill.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. President and Chair Nelson. Included in the property tax report this year are a variety of issues, and I will give you a quick summary of them. First, in the Senator Rest bill, she had increased the property value exemption amounts for residential properties. We decided to greatly increase the percentage that was in the original bill, and we have increased that to 25%. Basically, for those who may not be aware, the homestead market value exclusion is 40% of the currently of the first $76,000 to $413,800, and it's reduced as the value of the property goes up. We have now increased that to the first $95,000 and to a top end at $517,200, the same 40%. I had a bill which increased our homestead, agricultural homestead value to $2.5 million from $1.89. Senator Rood had a bill which increased Class 1 homestead resort property. This would be for our mom and pop type of resorts, and they have some partial homestead, and that was increased for the first $850,000. We reduce, as a result of property taxes, the reality of it is you can't change property taxes without creating shifts, or at least in certain types, without creating shifts elsewhere. You know, this will create some shifting into our commercial, industrial, and other properties. And so this bill allows for a 3% reduction of the state general levy through 23, 4, and 5, and beginning in 2026, it starts to reduce that levy by 10% a year. The first 3 years, we are reducing it by 3%, or a total of $23 million. At this point, we then have also increased the targeted homeowner property tax refund, where it will kick in. Right now, if you have an increase of 12%, it will switch to 10%, and we are also allowing a maximum refund to increase from $1,000 to $2,000. This was a Senator Klein bill. The property tax levy bill, there were different bills introduced by Senators Jasinski, Gazelka, and Nelson. We have also allowed in a Senator Klein Murphy bill the Senior Citizens Property Tax Deferral Program, increasing the maximum household income from $60,000 to $75,000 and reducing the 15-year ownership history to 5 years. We have set the flat class rate for 4D housing, low-income housing, at 0.25%. This was a bill that I had carried. It modifies the property tax exclusion for the homestead of veteran or disability or family caregiver, Senator Howe and Lane bill. It extends by 10 years a property tax exemption for a property located in Minneapolis, located by an Indian tribe, a Senator Chamberlain bill. establishes a 10-year property tax exemption for energy storage systems, as bill carried by myself. It also establishes an affordable housing market value exclusion to promote the development of rental properties. This includes an 8-year sunset, and eligible properties can receive a 50% market value exclusion. Both cities and counties must approve this in order for it to happen. This is a Senator Bach bill. We've eliminated the 10% minimum interest rates charged on delinquent property taxes, penalties, and confessions of judgment, and authorizes county boards to establish by resolution a lower interest rate than the prime rate charged by banks. We've modified the definition of attachments and appurtenances of cooperative utility distribution lines. This was a issue that for 83 years we did not tax meters and or streetlights, and there was a sudden change by the department to start taxing them, and this restores it to the original understanding. We've authorized the City of Virginia to exceed their debt limit in order to build a new public safety building. This is a Senator Tomassoni bill. Senator Goggin had a bill for a new ag buffer property tax credit. This is for those properties that have been enrolled in the buffer strip program that was created a few years ago by the state of Minnesota. It does not, however, include those acres that are covered by a CRP payment if they were allowed to participate in that program. Provides for electric generation transition aid to local communities who are seeing generation plants shutdowns, and most of the time these generation plants account for a very large percentage of their taxable base. Reimburses the taxing districts in Mille Lacs County for property lost due to tax revenue due to replacement of the property into the trust by the U.S. Department of the Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs, and provides LGA penalty forgiveness for the cities of Bena, Boy River, Echo, Morton, and Roosevelt. It adopts several TIF general law technical provisions recommended by the state auditor and negotiated by Senator Rest, and it includes TIF proposals for 3 districts: Savage for Senator Port, Shakopee, Senator Pratt, and Woodbury, Senator Kent. Another issue that was included was to allow cities between the size of 50 and 150,000 if they own properties on airport land that is rented out, and a real estate tax is charged for that particular property that they rent out, that they can reduce those tax rates by up to 50%. This was a Senator Bach bill. Those are the highlights of the property tax report, and I will turn it back to Senator Nelson if she has any follow-up items.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This also includes the public finance bill, and it also includes the department policy and technical correction bill.
Discussion and amendments to House File 3669. Senator Dietzig.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the Tax Committee, and especially thank you to the staff for their hard work on this bill. As you heard Senator Nelson and Senator Weber go into detail on the bill, there is a lot of detail work in there, and so we appreciate all they do. There are some good items in this bill, items that we can all agree on. Many of the conformity items that Senator Nelson mentioned, we can all agree on because they do help small businesses. I want to especially talk about the exclusion for discharge of mortgage indebtedness because that will help Minnesotans who lost their home due to foreclosure. And we know it's been a challenging 2 years, and so we feel that this helps them. The K-12 credit income threshold increase and the K-12 subtraction increase will help some families. The angel investment credit, the historic tax credit, the R&D credit, and the new market tax credits all will help, as Senator Nelson said, economic development and will create jobs. Creating jobs and economic development is good, but we also need to ensure that we have educated workers to fill those jobs. Senator Nelson, Senator Weber, and Senator Rest had a lot of conversations with advocates in cities to resolve concerns and put in guardrails on the affordable housing proposals. The 4D provision and another affordable housing provision in this bill could go a long way to preserve and increase affordable housing throughout our state. The tax increment finance and local sales provisions will address local issues in local communities. These are all good provisions. But there are other provisions that I have questions and concerns about. The Social Security provision does not help all retirees. Minnesotans have told us that they want paid family leave, paid family and medical leave. And this bill does give small companies a tax credit if they provide that paid leave. It gives them a tool, but it doesn't put in guardrails or give criteria for what is required. Do companies that offer this have to have a minimum length of that leave to qualify for the credit? Do they get the same credit regardless of the amount of leave? So do they get the same credit if they give leave for 8 hours, 8 days, or 8 weeks? There's still some questions that we need answers to. That provision, if the fine line and those insurance policies is written good and written so that it does help employees, could help those employees. But that's just for companies with 50 or less employees. There's several small businesses that are 50 to 100 employees that don't qualify for that. And if they don't have any other way to provide paid family and medical leave, that doesn't help those employees. This bill will help some Minnesotans, but it doesn't help all Minnesotans. This is what I've heard referred to as a historic tax bill. We have a historic surplus. We should be helping more people. We should be helping all Minnesotans with this bill. This bill spends over $8.6 billion in the next 3 years. $8.6 billion. That is historic. But I also question if it's responsible, especially if it doesn't help all Minnesotans. It does not provide relief to over 500,000 Minnesotans. They pay taxes, many of them work, they just don't make enough to pay income taxes, so they do not get the relief in this bill. We've heard many times in the last few weeks, as other budget bills were discussed here on the Senate floor, that we couldn't include this amendment, that we couldn't fund this proposal because it wasn't a budget year. We can't address the deficits many schools are facing because it isn't a budget year. We can't provide job training or fund more learn-to-earn programs because it isn't a budget year. And we can't fund more school counselors or provide more mental health assistance to our students. They have had historic upheaval in school in the last 2 years, but we can't help them because it isn't a budget year. That's what we've heard here on the Senate floor. But this bill is making budget decisions that will impact Minnesotans and Minnesota for years to come. Budget decisions that are not sustainable. The spending in this bill, and it is spending, brings us close to a structural deficit before we add in inflation. It doesn't matter if the spending is in a budget bill or a tax bill. It is still spending. And as history has shown, if we do not spend wisely, we will end up in deficits. If we go back to 1999, I wasn't here, but some of you were. News stories talked about the historic $4 billion surplus. Governor Ventura and the legislature made several permanent tax cuts. In 2001, news stories called those tax cuts historic. They said it was one of the largest tax cuts in the country. 2 years later, in 2003, Minnesota had a $4 billion deficit. The legislature spent the next 10 years dealing with those deficits. They cut local government aid and county program aid, impacting communities and property taxes throughout the state. They cut and shifted school funding. They squeezed health care programs for our elderly and disabled, our most vulnerable. Dealing with those deficits was tough work. It was tough work in 2013 when the legislature fixed those structural deficits. And we've been lucky to have projected surpluses since then. We have a choice here today. We can learn from the past, we can be responsible, we can be strategic, and we can help everyone. When we heard portions of this bill earlier, Senator Klein mentioned that $1 billion of these tax cuts go to the top 20% of wage earners. $500 million go to the top 13% of wage earners. And $20 million is spent on Social Security income recipients who make over $500,000 a year. This bill focuses on tax cuts for businesses and the wealthy. Earlier this week, news stories reported that a former CEO from a large Minnesota publicly traded company realized $142 million in the last year. So he got bonuses and stock options that he cashed out, $142 million. That was a $100 million increase from his 2020 $42 million that he received. That company also is doing really well. Their stock has grown 1,000%, over 1,000% since 2011. Their year-end profit in 2021 was up 12%, and their profits were $17.3 billion. That corporation is doing okay. That former CEO is doing okay. I'm glad they're doing okay. I want Minnesotans and Minnesota companies to be prosperous. But I don't think they need a tax cut. A budget lays out our priorities. And this bill says your priorities, the Minnesota Senate GOP priorities, are tax cuts for the wealthy. You're not addressing the cost of college tuition. We've read about in the paper recently, that's going up. You're not reducing broad property tax relief for renters and homeowners. And you're not reducing the special education cross-subsidy. We are hearing from that. We are hearing from parents and school districts all across the state that they need more help for their schools. They need more help for their students. But this bill is tax cuts for the wealthy. We could be strategic, balanced, and learn from the past, and provide relief for all Minnesotans. There still is time to do that. We can do better so all Minnesotans, no matter where they live or what they look like, can be successful.
Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members. We spend a lot of time debating bills in this chamber, but I think this is the most important bill of the session, and I encourage members to take a minute to think about what message we're sending to Minnesotans. I want to start by thanking the members of the Tax Committee, the excellent staff, thank my colleagues in the DFL Senate Caucus for some of the priority statements that they've made. And I want to ask this question. If Minnesota school districts are suffering millions of dollars of budget pain through the failure to fund the cross-subsidy, and our proposal out of this chamber is to do nothing, does that send the message during a $9 billion surplus that we want to send? I don't think it does. I have a son who graduated from college in 2015 and told me the next year, I'm going to work as a para in special ed at Mankato West. Now he works in special ed in Seattle, and you hear about the education that we promise to everybody. The special education that we're required to provide by the federal government is for all students to get a quality education. But the trick is the federal government does not pay for it, and the special education cross-subsidy is loudly ringing across school districts in every one of our districts. Just as an example, Senator Abler in the Anoka-Hennepin School District, special education cross-subsidy, $40.3 million. This tax bill proposes that we don't pay 40 cents.
Mr. President?
Senator Nelson, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a point of order. I would direct the President to look at Mason Section 101.4.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. I'll look at it. That's not necessarily a point of order, but I will look at that part of Mason's 101 point, what did you say, 101.4? Microphone.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. A debate, Mason's Section 101.4. Debate on a bill is confined to the bill under consideration, and it does not extend to criticism of other bills before the House or in committee, even though they relate to the same subject. I just want members to be aware of that and bring that to your attention, Mr. President.
Yep. Thank you, Senator Nelson. In the opinion of the President, I think Senator Friends was just trying to create priorities and talk about the bill itself, so I don't necessarily think he was totally out of line with where he was going. However, point well taken. I'm sure Senator Friends was not trying to violate that section of Mason. So, Senator Friends, please continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Anoka-Hennepin School District, the fiscal year 23 special education cross-subsidy, $40.3 million. Senator Housley, representing the excellent Stillwater schools, the cross-subsidy for 2023, $12.6 million. This bill provides zero to help address those costs. Imagine what those school districts could do with some help on those bills. My own school district in Mankato, the cross-subsidy is almost $7 million. The federal government gave us these guidelines, and they are good ones, to help make sure all our citizens, in particular special education and English learners, and we're simply not helping them. And it's causing decisions across these districts, especially with inflation, and this bill should address that. That is a smarter move for us as a chamber than to not address it. That's what Minnesotans want us to do. That's what families with school children want us to do. And that's what the men and women who work at the school districts are asking, why does this budget surplus not help us? Therefore, Mr. President, I'd like to offer the A25 amendment, please.
Senator Friends moves the A25 amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Friends moves to amend House File number 3669 as follows. Page 40, lines 17 and 18, delete. This is the A25 amendment.
To the A25 amendment, Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'd like to request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Friends.
Members, we can debate what our priorities are, and the tax bill is our chance to say, here's where I think we should spend money. This amendment takes money from the business property tax cut and eliminates the tax cut in this bill for those Minnesotans who earn more than $284,000 a year. I'm asking members to support this amendment because, as Senator Dietzick pointed out, the wealthiest Minnesotans, while we love them and we kind of cheer for them, do not need tax relief at this time. And I'd also ask members to consider this basic truth, and we all know this is true. The distance between working men and women and the wealthiest Minnesotans is greater than ever. I won't belabor the point that Senator Dietzick made about a CEO making $140 million a year, but I will ask you to consider this, members. What does a single mother of 2 kids with 2 jobs think when she hears that there's someone that makes $140 million a year? The A25 Amendment eliminates the tax break for Minnesotans who earn more than $284,000 a year, and if that isn't a smart use of our resources, then I don't know what is. With that, Mr. President, the A25 Amendment, if adopted, would provide broad relief for all the school districts. For example, Senator Housley's district would receive $1.8 million. Senator Abler's Anoka Hennepin, $6.6 million.
Mr. President, point of order.
Senator Johnson, for what purpose do you rise?
I hate to interrupt my good friend and colleague. However, I do believe this is a 35.2 violation, as it grossly expands the scope of the bill by adding a completely new fund to the omnibus bill.
Senator Johnson rises to a point of order under Rules Section 35.2 that the amendment is not germane to the underlying bill. Advice. Senator Friends first.
Thank you, Senator Osmek. Thank you, Senator Johnson, for your point of order. If we cannot propose changes to the bill, just tell us. Just say you can't propose an amendment that does something different. 35.2 gives 2 criteria that must be met, and if one of them is you can't change the bill at all, then I think every amendment for the history of this chamber is going to be not germane. And Mr. President, I'm asking you to consider the impact of germaneness rulings on the function of the Senate. Germaneness goes to accomplish a substantially different purpose. This is the tax bill where we're spending the people's money, and I'm proposing the A25 Amendment as directly germane to the question of where we're going to spend that money. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further advice to the President. Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Just advice. This addresses Chapter 125A, which is not even in the tax bill. This is related to education, and again, the majority of this amendment is not in the tax bill.
Further advice. Senator Dietzick.
Thank you, Mr. President. The bill will help reduce property taxes. If we don't, the school districts would have to go to property taxes to raise money. This bill would help maintain and reduce property taxes in a tax bill. There are property tax provisions in this bill, so I believe this is germane.
Any further advice? Senator Klein.
Thank you, Mr. President. And as you know from your list at the desk, the minority party plans to offer a series of amendments today that will clearly describe the differences in financial priorities we have at this moment in the state of Minnesota. And while a proposal has been advanced under this very expensive bill to spend that money on tax cuts for everyone across the state of Minnesota, including those who make a very high income, Senate Democrats would prefer to spend those on priorities that we consider essential, such as education, housing, health care, etc. If we are not allowed to offer these ideas before the Senate, Mr. President, under germaneness calls, then we have been deprived of our ability to advance our ideas and to debate in the tradition of this body.
Further advice. Members, in reading the rule and reading the bill, reading the title of the bill, in the opinion of the President is that the point of order is well taken. The amendment is not germane to the bill.
Mr. President,
Senator Dietzick.
pursuant to Senate Rule 14.4, I appeal the ruling of the President and request a roll call.
To that point, members, question before the body is, shall the decision of the President be the judgment of the Senate? Roll call being requested, roll call granted. A green vote upholds the decision of the President. A red vote overrules the decision of the President. The Secretary will take the roll. Calling Senator Hur to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Hur.
Mr. President, I'd like to report nay for Senator Eaton,
Eaton votes nay. Senator Hur.
nay for Senator Marty,
Marty votes nay. Senator Hur.
nay for Senator Port,
Port votes nay. Senator Hur.
nay for Senator Rest,
Rest votes nay. Senator Hur.
and nay for Senator Patricia Torres-Ray.
Torres-Ray votes nay.
Thank you.
Calling Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes aye.
Anderson votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Coleman votes aye.
Coleman votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes aye.
Zalka votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Goggin votes aye.
Goggin votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Lang votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Thomasoni votes aye.
Thomasoni votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Rarick votes aye.
Rarick votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Utke votes aye.
Hudke votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Westrom votes aye.
Western votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Draheim votes aye.
Draheim votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Pratt votes aye.
Pratt votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator St. John votes aye.
St. John votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Abler votes aye.
Abler votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Ingebrigtsen votes aye.
Ingebrigtsen votes aye. Senator Jasinski. Nope. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 35 ayes and 28 nays, the decision of the President is sustained. Senator Kunish.
Mr. President, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Sorry, Senator Kunish will go to Senator Latz for a point of inquiry. Senator Latz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm trying to understand the what is considered germane and not germane. I've been following the rulings as best I can over the course of the 15 or so years I've served in the Senate. And listening to the rulings here this spring as well. And I've gone to Mason's, I've gone to our own rules. And my experience has been when there's an omnibus bill, and we have certain bills that are designated as omnibus bills in the Minnesota Senate, they have a special title, they have special proceedings and rules that apply to them. And they're called omnibus because they're omnibus. They cover a wide range of specifics, but they're all under a certain umbrella of whatever the title of the omnibus bill is. In this case today, the tax bill. When I look at Mason's, they define germaneness as whether the question to be answered is whether the amendment is relevant, appropriate, and in a natural and logical sequence to the subject matter of the original proposal. Well, the original proposal here is taxes, right? So the subject matter is taxes. Section 402 goes on, the amendment is required only to relate to the same subject. It may entirely change the effect of or be in conflict with the spirit of the original motion or measure and still be germane to the subject. So it seems to me, theoretically, we could offer an amendment that completely changed how the money was being spent in the tax bill. But if it's relating to taxes, it'd be germane, and especially as an omnibus bill. You know, the Masons does define the order of relevance here, the highest reference point being constitutional provisions and judicial decisions, and then adopted rules, and then custom usage and precedents. And it seems to me under our adopted rules, which are also broadly written, and custom and usage and precedent, that offering amendments to an omnibus bill, if they are under the same subject, whether it's education or health care or transportation, if they relate to transportation, they're germane to the transportation bill, even if they try to do something completely different. Even if there's no statutory citation contained in the omnibus bill that's the same as in the amendment. It's a factor to consider, but it's not a deciding factor. You got to look at the overall bill. In an omnibus bill, the overall bill is about as broad as could ever be defined in our practice here. Now, it's non-germane if it relates to a substantially different subject. So a purely education amendment in a tax bill might run into some issues. But if the education amendment is related to the subject of taxes in some way or another, seems to me that would be a germane amendment. If it's intended to accomplish a substantially different purpose than the original bill, well, if the original bill, first of all, that would prohibit bridge amendments, and no one's arguing there are bridge amendments here. But if it's a substantially different purpose, it's one thing. But if it's a tax-related purpose, then it's not a substantially different purpose. It's a tax-related purpose in an omnibus bill. So I'm really having trouble understanding the scope here, because we've now had over the course of all the omnibus bills that we've had come before us, there have been a lot of rulings that amendments relating to the subject matter of those omnibus bills are not relevant for some reason or another. And I know the president doesn't have to give an explanation or reasoning for the decision. So the only way we can try to divine what would be germane under this president's rulings would be to look at the accumulated experience of this president's rulings and see if we can find a common theme. And about the only common theme I'm able to find right now is that if the amendment is being offered by the minority party, it's not, and it's challenged on germaneness, then it's not considered to be germane. With the sole exception, as far as I can recall, of Senator Johnson's amendment, which was clearly out of balance on a budget bill and intended, no, I'm not going to even go there. But it clearly had the effect of being, I think, the only majority amendment that was ruled out of order all session that we've been in today. So I'm asking the president if you can possibly give us some guidance, or as Senator Klein is saying, maybe what we just have to understand, we're not going to be allowed to offer amendments because the majority doesn't want to take a vote on the subjects that we're offering, and they're going to be ruled out of order procedurally, and we just have to live with that. And I can tell you, for one, I'm not going to live with that. Maybe I ask the president to give us some guidance, please.
Well, Senator Latz, I appreciate your perspective. I think I've been very consistent. There was another amendment that was also ruled non-germane. Senator Western brought one up regarding vaccines within very recent history. I think it was within the last 2 weeks. And as soon as he heard someone stand up and say, there's a problem, and that was from the people in the back of the room, he pulled it down before it even got to that point. So there was a second one. Senator Latz, I'm not going to actually sit and debate my interpretation of Mason's and interpretation of 35.2. I will say this, I have been very consistent. When you look at the title of the bill, and there's an amendment that does not touch the same statute area, and I think I even had a discussion with you after a previous bill quite a while ago, that there was a section of the title that said, and new sections to section XXX. And I told you that amendment, I mentioned to you that amendment that you pulled, I think somebody pulled down, would have been germane because it said in the title, new additions to section blah, blah, blah. But in general terms, and this is not hard and fast, and I'm not going to get into a debate about it, it's not in the title of the bill. I've been terribly consistent that if you're amending something that is not called out as statute language in the title of the bill, there's a problem to start with. And that has been exactly consistent. Moving to the next, Senator Latz.
Thank you, Mr. President, for indulging in listening to my comments, but there are a lot of statutes that deal with taxes. So just the fact that a particular amendment doesn't refer to a specific statute that's in a tax bill doesn't mean it's a different subject. It just means it's a different statute dealing with the same broad subject in an omnibus bill. And you could say the same about the consumer protection statutes. You can say the same about criminal statutes, which there are at least half a dozen different statutes in law that deal with crimes in one way or another, probably more than that. So just looking at statutory reference, I would respectfully submit is far too narrow a guidepost for determining what's germane to an omnibus bill.
I appreciate your position, Senator Latz. Thank you for your comments. Senator Kunish is next on my list.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment. I do believe it addresses a specific statute. But my amendment recognizes that the founders of the Minnesota Constitution recognized that education is almost the ultimate great equalizer for all of our students, therefore the future of our great state. In fact, in Article 13, it calls for a uniform system of public schools. And it states the stability of a Republican form of government depends mainly upon the intelligence of the people. It is the duty of the legislature to establish a general and uniform system of public schools, and the legislature shall make provisions by taxation or otherwise as will secure a thorough and efficient system of public schools throughout the state. And we do that. We do that, maybe not well, but we do that. But then Section 2 goes on to prohibit aiding sectarian school. And it states, in no case shall any public money or property be appropriated or used for the support of schools wherein the distinctive doctrines, creeds, or tenets of any Christian or other religious sects are promulgated or taught. And so, with understanding our state constitution, I would like to offer here the A14 Amendment.
Senator Kunish moves the A14 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Kunish moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows. Page 55, delete Section 25. This is the A14 Amendment.
To the A14 Amendment, Senator Kunish.
Members, this bill essentially is diverting public funds to private schools. Private schools that include a religious or unique doctrine of schools. It allows Minnesota taxpayer dollars to support private school education by getting rid of the requirement of any 529 saving plan distributions used for K-12 tuitions that are taxed as regular income. For those of you who don't know what a 529 saving plan is, it is the opportunity for individuals, grandmas, grandpas, aunties, friends of children, to put funds into a savings plan that youth will eventually be able to use for secondary education, for college and post-high school education. The federal government allows those funds now to be used for lower education, K through 12 education. But let's get back to the very nucleus of a 529 savings plan. It is a savings plan to be used for future education. If this is not repealed from this omnibus bill, it will allow those funds that are to go into a savings plan for the future to be used in K through 12, therefore not making it a savings plan. And so without the add back, Minnesotans, we would be able to use existing state tax benefits that are meant to help families save for those higher education for private K-12, making it not that savings plan. So it really is erroneous that when we can't find $30 million of a $9.25 billion budget surplus to support our public schools, we certainly should not be using these tax dollars to support private education, as it states in our state constitution. Therefore, members, I would ask that you would support this amendment and vote green.
To the A14 Amendment, Senator Nelson.
And I do ask for a roll call. Thank you.
Sorry, roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make sure that the body and the public knows about 529 plans. These plans are saving plans for education. The federal government allows, and I want to make sure everyone understands that Minnesotans are fully taxed on the money that they put into those 529 plans. So they are fully taxed. They pay a tax on the money, on the income that they get, And what's left, whatever they can, they put perhaps in that 529 plan. Now that money grows in that 529 plan. Now, and it is to be used for education. Now, the federal government allows the use of those dollars that Minnesotans paid taxes on, but they put in a 529 plan. The federal government allows, when those dollars are taken out of the 529 plan, the federal government says, yes, those can be used for private school tuition. What is the difference between using those funds for higher education in a private school or a private college and letting Minnesotans decide that they want to use those savings dollars that they put into a 529 plan to help pay for the tuition at a private school? What is the difference? Well, there is none. This is a simple conformity item with what the federal government is already doing. And to the point about worried about using these tax dollars for other things, as I said, the money's already taxed before it goes into the 529 plan. And I want you to note, members, that the revenue estimate is incredibly small. It's $100,000 a year that some of you would like to deprive Minnesotans of being able to use their 529 savings plan because they want to send Susie or Johnny to a private school. It's their money. They earned it. They paid taxes on it. The money grew in a 529 plan for a bit of time, and now they want to use it. And who is it that thinks the state of Minnesota can say, no, you can't use that. You can't use that for a private school tuition. Now, you can everywhere else or in other places, but not in the state of Minnesota. So I think this is a very small step towards empowering Minnesota parents or grandparents who are purchasing these, investing in these 529 plans to let them use the money the way that they think they should. This is a small provision. I'm surprised at the angst against allowing Minnesotans to use a 529 plan proceeds, which they've already paid taxes on, in the way that the federal government allows. I encourage a no vote.
Senator Root.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of Senator Nelson's plan for the 529, and I ask you to vote against the amendment on the floor. I have used this wonderful plan for my grandchildren for their college education. I'm kind of the unfun grandma. Instead of a toy or something to play with, I put a couple dollars into their account. And by doing that, for my oldest grandchild, paid most of her education to college, that little bit that she didn't get for scholarships. So it's a marvelous plan. And the fact that we would now have federal conformity for this plan for K-12 is really great. It's such a small amount of money for the parents. And you know, the money that you put into those savings account is all taxed. You only they only get a relief on the money that's earned in those accounts. But it all adds up. And it really, what do we want to teach our children and our families? That they should be saving for education, regardless if it's K-12 or for its college. So I rise for a no vote against this amendment because I think this provision in Senator Nelson's bill is long overdue, and I support it.
Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members, for letting me wade back into taxes. Just a quick point for the body. The 529 plans allow a taxpayer a deduction. That is what Senator Kunesh' amendment is addressing, is that when you donate or contribute to a 529 plan, you're getting a tax deduction. That is the part that she seeks separation from according to the Constitution, and therefore I will be voting yes on the Kunesh amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if Senator Nelson would yield for a couple of questions, please.
Senator Nelson will yield. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, and thank you, Senator Nelson. Just a couple of questions regarding this amendment. I want to make sure I understand it correctly, especially since you're the author of the underlying bill here. So it's my understanding that a 529 plan would give parents and families more options, freedom, and control regarding the education of their children. Do I understand that correctly?
Senator Nelson.
Senator Duckworth, you said that very clearly, and you are spot on. It is just providing parents choice.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Nelson yield for one more question?
She will. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you. So, Senator Nelson, if I understand this amendment correctly, this amendment would restrict or limit parents' ability to make decisions regarding the education of their children. Do I understand that correctly?
Senator Nelson.
Senator Duckworth, this amendment would limit them in being able to use the savings plan that they have invested in for their child in the way that they would like for the education expenses as allowed by the federal government. So it would be limiting parents.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just say I plan to vote no on this amendment. I would encourage others to do the same because affording parents maximum freedom, flexibility regarding the decisions they make as it pertains to the education of their children is absolutely critical, especially when just last week we brought forward a bill that would substantially increase and invest in resources regarding literacy, essentially a bill designed to help little kids read, and nearly every one of our colleagues across the aisle voted against that. Well, if we're not going to provide our schools resources to help little kids learn to read, then my goodness, we need to provide options to parents so they can seek other resources should they choose to do so. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Clausen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I probably have the greatest history of this because I believe it was my bill back in maybe 8, 9 years ago that actually provided a tax incentive for Minnesotans to invest in 529 college savings plan at that time. And it's been a very popular program. As has been stated here, that it has changed with the federal government, opening it up to E12 education. And in Minnesota, I find that there is a problem. If you look at the Constitution of the state of Minnesota, and I'm going to read Article 1, Section 16, nor shall any money be drawn from the treasury for the benefit of any religious societies or religions or theological seminars. It goes on, Article 13, Section 2, in no case shall any public money or property be appropriated or used for the amount of schools wherein the distinctive doctrines, creeds, or tenets of any particular Christian or other religion, sect are propagated or taught. I think it's pretty clear. We are using, under this proposal in the tax bill, we're using monies that people have invested. They're getting a tax break from the state of Minnesota, and they're turning around and using it potentially for religious education through private schools. I see it as a violation of our state constitution. It was never intended to be used this way, and I would encourage a no vote on this, or I would encourage a yes vote on this amendment, and that we not support the tenets that are in the current tax bill.
Senator Kunish.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just as my colleagues have stated, this is to uphold our Minnesota State Constitution. I totally believe and affirm and support parental choice when it comes to education. I was an educator for 25 years. I myself went to parochial schools through elementary school, high school, and college, and paid for that tuition mostly myself. I sent my children to parochial schools when they were in elementary school. That was my choice. That was my choice. And our Constitution says that we cannot use our tax dollars for private religious education. It's clear. If you vote for this omnibus bill in this state without taking this amendment, we are in clear violation of our Constitution. And so this is not a question of denying families the choice in educating their children. They can send their kids anywhere they want. They can homeschool their kids. They can put them in boarding schools, send them across the nation, across the country if they want. This is not about limiting anybody's choice. It's about upholding the Minnesota Constitution. And we wouldn't be in such a herd of issues when it comes to education if we and the federal government had fully funded and would fully fund our schools the way they need to be funded, with our tax dollars. And we have such an inequitable way of supporting each of our school districts, and we see that with so many deficits. There are school districts that cannot support their schools because they don't have that tax base. So it's not about a savings plan, which I actually will start for my own grandchildren because I think it's a great way to support them. But it's about upholding the Constitution and allowing us to do what we need to do, maybe holding us accountable for fully funding our schools in an equitable way, so that transportation doesn't suffer, so that special education doesn't suffer, so that our ELL programs, our food programs, so we can all have a library with a library media specialist in it. That's what we should be doing with our tax dollars. And at the same time, upholding our Minnesota Constitution. And so once again, members, I ask you to vote green.
Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I just decided to get up and see if I could get a copy of the Constitution here, because twice on this floor, I've heard it said that in our Constitution, that it states we cannot use money for private education. It speaks to funding public education, but it does not say that you cannot fund private education. It doesn't say that in the Minnesota Constitution. So I think it's very clear that we read it and that we understand what is actually in. And so right now, there is nothing that forbids that. And so it is then under general rules that we can do so, and we should. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will take the roll on the A11 or A14 Amendment. Calling Senator Friends to report. Members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report Senator Eaton votes aye.
Eaton votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Herr votes aye.
Herr votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Hoffman votes no.
Hoffman votes no. Senator Friends.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Marty votes aye. Senator Prince.
Senator Newton votes no.
Newton votes nay. Senator Prince.
Senator Port votes aye.
Port votes aye. Senator Prince.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Rest votes aye. Senator Prince.
Senator Lopez Franzen votes aye.
Lopez Franzen votes aye. Senator Prince.
And Senator Torres Ray votes aye.
Torres Ray votes aye. Calling Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes no.
Anderson votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Coleman votes no.
Coleman votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes no.
Gazelka votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes no.
Lang votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Thomasoni votes no.
Thomasoni votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Ingebrigtsen votes no.
Ingebrigtsen votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Westrom votes no.
Westrom votes no. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Pratt votes no.
Pratt votes no. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Senjum votes no.
Senjum votes no. Senator Jasinski. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 26 ayes and 38 nays, the A14 Amendment is not adopted. Senator Klein.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm going to follow your admonishments and offer my amendment first thing out of the bat. I'd like to offer the A19 Amendment.
Senator Klein moves the A19 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Klein moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows, page 40, lines 17 and 18, delete. This is the A19 Amendment.
To the A19 Amendment, Senator Klein.
Mr. President, I request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Klein.
Colleagues, I'm offering the A19 Amendment, and this is what it does. First of all, as with previous amendments, it eliminates the proposed income tax cut for people who make more than $284,000 a year, and eliminates the business property tax cut, and it uses those funds instead to implement an updated and modernized and more supplemental formula for local government aid, increase money to both local government aid and county program aid. You know, we've all received letters about the dramatic rise in property taxes that many families and homeowners are going to experience next year as property valuations rapidly increase. We also have talked a lot in this chamber this year about public safety and various solutions to that. This amendment addresses both of those in the most expansive way possible by increasing local government aid dollars and county program aid dollars, sending funds to the municipal governments that pave our streets, fund our police and fire squads, manage county social services, and also allowing those institutions to keep their property taxes low on individual homeowners, which is a serious priority of this chamber. You know, this proposal, not just the increase in funding for it, but the actual updating of the local government aid statute came from a coalition of groups that represent the cities in every one of our districts across this state. Every senator in this chamber has a city that was represented in this coalition, and they agreed on a formula that would update and reflect the true way to measure need on the part of cities. This formula has not been updated since 2013, and it is badly out of date and obsolete. The updated formula accurately reflects city needs, and when I offered it this year as a bill, it had authors from all three parties, tax leaders from all three parties, who thought this was the right time to do this, that the group had worked with integrity and intellectual honesty, and that they had developed a formula which benefited all of our cities. Under the amendment so offered, local government aid funding would increase by $30 million, as would county program aid. A good way to spend our surplus money at this time, better than spending it on tax cuts for the very wealthy, and a good way to lower property taxes for Minnesotans and to address our concerns about public safety. And I ask for a green vote.
Discussion to the A19 Amendment. Senator Bigham was up first, and then I'll go to Senator Weber.
Mr. President, I am so thankful that Senator Klein is offering this amendment because, folks, if you want to vote on direct property tax relief, that is exactly what county program aid and local government aid provide. Members, every single county gets county program aid, and that helps with social services, with the sheriff's office, with public works, parks, you name it. Every county gets it, and this formula increases it, and makes that means that the levy does not have to go towards those expenditures. And then local government aid, well, I mean, we talk about that more than we actually talk about county program aid. Not every community gets local government aid, but what this amendment does, and I'm proud that Senator Klein did that, is he keeps us in balance, and that's important. When a group of stakeholders, especially local elected officials, can agree on this, I mean, this is amazing. And members, this is really used to help with offsetting the costs that the state has shifted to counties and cities. They are very efficient and effective, and they can do a dang good job if we give them the money to do it and not shift costs to them. And so this does that. I urge a green vote and thank Senator Klein for bringing this forward.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would encourage people to vote red on this amendment. The reality of it is that the new formula that was developed for LGA actually requires $90 million in order for it to make it work. And by the time you take CPA out of this amount as well, it's really doesn't help the new formula out in any great shakes. At this point in time, I think we all recognize that taking money out of the tax cut and the state general tax levy, quite frankly, is a problem for many of our businesses. Our businesses, quite frankly, were told that many of them had to shut down during the pandemic by the governor, and we see many of our downtown properties, particularly in the metro area, that are seeing vacancy problems as a result of businesses that had to quit, and yet there's never any type of program for them not to have to pay their taxes. The tax is still required to be paid, and therefore, Mr. President, I would encourage a no vote on this amendment.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I ask you to join in a yes vote for this amendment, and I thank Senator Klein for bringing this. In my community, we have seen property taxes go through the roof, largely because of speculation around real estate and profiteering in that area. And when we don't have the appropriate amount of local government aid to offset the costs for our counties and our municipalities, that causes us to have to raise property taxes even more. This really is about who pays. Who pays? Is it the people on fixed incomes who are trying to pay their property taxes and trying to get by on that fixed income, trying to hold on to their house? Minnesotans can literally be taxed out of their homes when we shift the costs in the way that we do. So I applaud this amendment. I ask for your support. Let's support Minnesotans on fixed incomes who are trying to make ends meet, trying to pay those property taxes, and keep property taxes down for regular Minnesotans the best we can. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will take the roll on the A19 Amendment. Call on Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes no.
Anderson votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Coleman votes no.
Coleman votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Gazelka votes no.
Gazelka votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Lang votes no.
Lang votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Thomasoni votes no.
Thomasoni votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Westrom votes no.
Westrom votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Senjum votes no.
Senjum votes nay. Call on Senator Frentz to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report Senator Eaton votes aye.
Eaton votes aye. Senator Frentz.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Marty votes aye. Senator Frentz.
Senator Newton votes aye.
Newton votes aye. Senator Frentz.
Senator Port votes aye.
Port votes aye. Senator Frentz.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Rest votes aye. Senator Frentz.
And Senator Torres Ray votes aye.
Torres Ray votes aye. Senator Jasinski. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I miss Senator Ingebrigtsen. Senator Ingebrigtsen votes no.
Ingebrigtsen votes no. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 28 ayes and 35 nays, the motion does not prevail. The A19 amendment is not adopted. Senator Swedzinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I got here this morning, and the first thing I saw on my desk was property tax relief handout. And I thought, excellent, great, what's it got to say? And I, went through the handout and read the graphics and found it very enlightening, and read the list of people on the second page that favor property tax relief. And I heard on the floor today the comment, I believe I heard it twice, that we don't like one unit of government taxing another unit of government. So with that, Mr. President, I have the A21 Amendment.
Senator Swedzinski moves the A21 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Swedzinski moves to amend House File number 3669 as follows. Page 40, lines 17 and 18, delete. This is the A21 Amendment.
To the A21 Amendment, Senator Swedzinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. This amendment allows local governments, nonprofits, hospitals, the airport, to some extent, local government, I think I said, from having to pay sales taxes on construction materials and supplies, thus saving taxpayers from higher property tax rates. We've heard a lot today about how property taxes are going through the roof. This House File 3669 gives an exemption for school districts, which I'm sure we all support. My amendment would add that exemption for school districts for other local government entities, so that municipalities have the same tax break for construction materials that our school districts will have. And then therefore they would pass that savings on to the property taxpayers, providing property tax relief. And so Amendment 21 I stand in favor of for the very reasons that we added in Senate File 3669, the school districts. My amendment would simply add the other municipalities that would be exempt from the construction costs. Thank you, Mr. President. And I ask for a roll call vote.
Roll call is requested. Roll call granted. To the A21 Amendment, Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Swedzinski yield?
He will yield. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Swedzinski, have you received a revenue note on this?
Yes.
Senator Swedzinski.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you,
Senator Weber.
Mr. President. If Senator Swedzinski would continue to yield, would you share with us what that amount is?
He will continue to yield. Senator Swedzinski.
It's the same figure we've heard a couple times today, the $386 million.
Senator
in
Weber.
savings from the fourth tier.
Sorry, Senator Weber.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I think we all understand that certainly there are many of us that I think would like to see that these sales taxes would eventually be eliminated from our local governments. However, I think at this point in time, the main focus of the tax bill has been to provide individual tax relief in terms of income tax to the citizens of Minnesota. All across this state, we have heard them say they would like to have it back. And yes, there are different ways to do that. But at this point in time, I would encourage a no vote on this amendment. Thank you very much.
Further discussion to the A21 amendment? Seeing none, the Secretary will take the roll on the A21 amendment. Calling Senator Friends to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Eaton votes aye.
Eaton votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Marty votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Newton votes aye.
Newton votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Port votes aye.
Port votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Rest votes aye. Senator Friends.
And Senator Torres Ray votes aye.
Torres Ray votes aye. Calling Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes no.
Anderson votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Coleman votes no.
Coleman votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes no.
Gazelka votes no. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes no.
Lang votes no. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Miller votes no.
Miller votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Ingebrigtsen votes no.
Ingebrigtsen votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Westrom votes no.
Westrom votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Senjum votes no.
Senjum votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Tomasoni votes no.
Tomasoni votes nay. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 28 ayes and 35 nays, the motion does not prevail. The A21 is not adopted. Senator Bingham.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. We've been talking a lot today about tax relief. Well, and very good amendments that are not being adopted, but Mr. President, I think we should talk about maybe generating some revenue. And members, according to the American Gaming Association, 34 states, plus Washington, D.C., allow legalized sports wagering. And since 2018, there's been $122 billion wagered, $1.26 billion paid in taxes to state and local governments from $8.6 billion in sports book revenue last year. And there's 300 partnerships that have launched between gaming companies who pay taxes, leagues who pay taxes, teams who pay taxes, and media companies who pay taxes. I just want to make sure that I'm talking about taxes so that it's relevant to this bill. Mr. President, we seem to have an impasse here in the Senate on legalizing sports wagering, and so I would offer the A21 Amendment.
Senator Bingham moves the A21 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Bingham moves to amend House File number 3669 as follows. Page 185 after line 31 insert. This is the A29 Amendment.
To the A21 Amendment, Senator Bingham.
Mr. President, the time is now Minnesota, so you do not have to go to Iowa anymore because we do not want to go there. This would make sports wagering legal at the tribal casinos and the racetracks, both on-site and mobile. And the revenue generated would go to 25% for mental health, 25% to sports and events, which would be used to bid on large-scale sporting events, and 25% to charitable gambling. The rest goes to revenue. Mr. President, I'm not going to ask for a roll call on this because I'm crossing my fingers that you're going to have good hearing and that the body would probably vote yes on this. And Mr. President, it's important that we have this discussion, and I'm hoping that the body will vote yes on this and that Senator Nelson can bring it to conference committee, and then we can have legalized sports wagering here because it is time, Minnesota.
Senator Johnson jumped onto his feet, but I think he has something to say. Senator Johnson.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. And yes, unfortunately, I will make a point of order here. 35.2, this is a substantially different issue that we're dealing with here with sports betting as opposed to the tax bill that's before us.
Senator Johnson rises to a point of order under germaneness rules section 35.2 that the amendment is not germane to the underlying bill, unfortunately. Senator Bingham, please provide advice.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, fine. So maybe it expands the scope a little bit, but you know what it does? It expands the scope of Minnesotans that want to legally wager in a free market on sports events. So please find that this is germane, and we can do a voice vote. It simply goes to conference, and Chair Nelson will fight for the Senate position, and we will have legalized sports wagering in Minnesota.
Senator Nelson.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate my fellow Carla here speaking about, excuse me, excuse me for the personalities, Mr. Chair, I forgot. I appreciate the comments about the passion behind this bill, but clearly, Mr. President, it is not germane. It deals with Chapter 299. It is not germane in the least, substantially expands the bill. And my advice to you is that it is substantially not germane.
Further advice to the President. Senator Chamberlain.
I must indulge for just 30 seconds. I would say I wholeheartedly agree. We would love to see such a thing in the state of Minnesota, and deeply we really would. But regrettably, I would agree with Senator Nelson and Senator Johnson, not germane, but it's a nice, wonderful, beautiful thought. Thank you.
Sadly, Senator Bingham, I do have to agree that the amendment is not germane to the underlying bill and is out of order. But I wouldn't take bets on that in the future. Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, looks like we're past that last point. Okay. No challenge of germaneness. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, as you are all no doubt aware, given the fine leadership of Senator Draheim and Senator Dietzig, we are, as a state, in the midst of an affordable housing crisis. In fact, the Federal Reserve has identified the lack of affordable housing, whether that be home ownership opportunities or rental, to be one of the key threats to our state's economy. Family budgets are put at substantial risk, homelessness is exacerbated, and businesses are hampered in their ability to attract workers. In fact, we're losing somewhat on the order of 4,000 to 6,000 units of affordable housing. At the same time, we need to produce 40,000 additional affordable housing units. And we know that for the very low income, it's an even worse crisis, with almost 170 renter households that fall into the 30% of area median income category, and only 64, less than 65,000 units of affordable rental available to them. So, Mr. President, I would like to offer the A50 Amendment.
Senator Dibble moves the A50 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Dibble moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows, page 40, lines 17 and 18 delete. This is the A50 Amendment.
To the A50 Amendment, Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to request a roll call before I forget to do that.
Roll call is requested. Roll call granted. Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. What the A50 Amendment would do would create an aid, a local government aid that would distribute grants on a formula basis to counties and cities for the purpose of assisting in addressing this housing affordability crisis. And it would make those grants available based on the proportion of cost-burdened households that each community experiences on a statewide basis. And the purpose of these projects would include construction, acquisition, rehabilitation, demolition or removal of existing structures, construction financing, permanent financing, interest rate reduction, refinancing, and gap financing for both home ownership as well as affordable rental projects. Mr. President, the resources from this would come from reducing the highest level of our income tax. It doesn't seem to make sense that we would be giving so much to the wealthiest among us when it makes so much more sense to make sure that we have affordable housing for those at the very lowest levels of income, so they could avoid homelessness, as well as those who are in the more middle area of our income and address the very threat that we have to our economy, which of course has implications for the prosperity that we all enjoy and share in the state of Minnesota. I'll just end with this, Mr. President. The top 5 in-demand jobs in the state, of those, 3 simply do not earn enough to qualify for quality housing in an affordable manner. That would be home health and personal care aides, those who work in retail, both in sales positions, and those who work in supervisory positions in retail experience a great deal of pressure as well. And of course, the stockers and order fillers, those folks we know who work at Amazon and the like, these are some of the most in-demand, high-growth jobs in our economy right now, and they simply can't afford housing in the present state of circumstances. Thank you, Mr. President.
Discussion to the A50 Amendment. Senator Nelson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. And certainly, affordable housing is a concern. But at this point, Mr. President, taking tax relief and applying it for an affordable housing provision at this point, I think, is not. People have asked to see the tax relief come back to them. And you know, there's a big difference between the House bill and the Senate bill. The Senate bill, we believe that Minnesotans can determine how best to use those dollars rather than picking winners and losers and picking winners and losers and determining how tax relief or money should be spent other than tax relief. So, Mr. President, I would encourage a no vote on this. I do believe it expands the bill, but I also just want to be clear that in the Senate we're very focused on tax relief, getting the money back into the hands of Minnesotans rather than picking winners and losers.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just point out, again, if I wasn't more clear in my description of the amendment, this represents $386 million that's going to the wealthiest people in Minnesota. $386 million. So when we're talking about putting money back in the hands, we're talking about folks who already have huge houses and maybe 2 or 3 houses. And in turn, it would take $100 million and help communities who know best what their needs are around housing affordability and affordable rental to create workforce housing and low-income housing for those folks who need it. $100 million to create more affordable housing opportunity in the midst of an enormous crisis we have in housing affordability versus $386 million going into the pockets of the wealthiest Minnesotans who enjoy the benefit of spacious, luxurious, large homes, in many cases, more than one home. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Just to add some clarity to that, those particular comments, I do encourage people to look at the charts that were handed out on their desks. They're in color, reds and greens, and to really the intent of the amendment before us. I want members to know that upper decile of Minnesotans, that upper 10% that pay 59% of the taxes in our state. So the upper 10% pay 59% of the taxes. I just want to get clarity on that, but I also want to make sure that members understand what's being said here is not exactly accurate. The effective tax rate by those same income deciles, the same decile that the amendment's author spoke to, would be seeing a 1% effective tax rate cut. And so I just have to say that this sounds like nothing more than just flat out income redistribution, wealth redistribution. So I would not look at this as a friendly amendment. I'm sad to see it come up right now because it is over in the House bill. But I would just say at this point, I would encourage a no vote on this amendment.
Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will take the roll on the A15 Amendment. Call on Senator Friends to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Eaton votes aye.
Eaton votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Isaacson votes aye.
Isaacson votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Marty votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Newton votes aye.
Newton votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Port votes aye.
Port votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Rest votes aye. Senator Friends.
And Senator Torres Ray votes aye.
Torres Ray votes aye. Calling Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes no.
Anderson votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Coleman votes no.
Coleman votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes no.
Gazelka votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes no.
Lang votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Miller votes no.
Miller votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Thomasoni votes no.
Thomasoni votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Ingebrigtsen votes no.
Ingebrigtsen votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Westrom votes no.
Westrom votes nay. Senator Jasinski. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Senjum votes no.
Senjum votes nay. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 28 ayes and 35 nays, the motion does not prevail. The amendment is not adopted. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. President, members, just a couple of months ago, I was visiting with my pal behind me here, our collective pal, Senator Jim Abler. And we were talking a little bit and came up with this idea that it seems like so much of what we discuss these days could just be boiled down to we care and they don't. And it seems like maybe we could just consolidate and make our campaigning much more official. If we just had all of the lit just say that, we send it to every Minnesotan, and then they pick which party we're thinking about. Because it seems like that's what we say all the time. But you and I all know that that's not true. We all care very deeply about our communities. We all care deeply about the Senate. And we all care very deeply about our responsibilities. I think there are also issues that we all agree on as being of tremendous import to ourselves and to our community. We all agree that we want to live in safe communities and that we want no one of our neighbors to feel endangered. We all also agree and respect the diversity of Minnesota and know that what happens in St. Cloud is not the same thing as what happens in Minneapolis. Members, Mr. President, we have an opportunity to move beyond that care, to think about both of those issues right now in this moment, and not just care but do. So, Mr. President, I offer the A18 Amendment.
Senator Putnam moves the A18 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Putnam moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows. Page 40, lines 18 and 20, 17 and 18, excuse me. Insert, this is the A18 Amendment.
To the A18 Amendment, Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, what this would do is it would take the same $386 million that we've been talking about a bunch today, that cut in the fourth tier. Now, let's be perfectly clear. When we're talking about adjusting the fourth tier, we aren't talking about raising taxes. We're just saying we want to keep things the way they are. Because that's a population that is, by definition, not hurting nearly as bad as the rest of us are. So what this amendment would do would be to take $100 million from that source and devote it to public safety in the form of what is essentially a new kind of LGA. This would be money that every police department, every municipality, every county could use to hire new police officers, to buy new equipment. The average city in Minnesota would get $240,000. That could be 3 new cops. Or it could be raises to the cops that you've already got. Mr. President, members, I was at a meeting of rural police chiefs just a couple months ago, and I heard that a cop in Albany gets paid about $20 an hour. How is that acceptable? With these resources appropriately dedicated to local governments where they can make the decisions that they need to make that will have the greatest impact on making their communities most safe, that's what this bill will do. And it will also provide property tax relief. And we all know what desperate need we have for property tax relief. Why, just today I received a letter from a constituent, an actual real letter, handwritten and everything. And it was from a woman named Shirley who lives in Way Park. And in this letter, she talked about feeling unsafe in the community, but she also talked about her property taxes. And members, she was asking me about food stamps. We all have constituents just like this, and this is our opportunity to help them. I urge a green vote on this amendment.
Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I do rise to a point of order on this particular amendment. I do believe that this amendment, the A18, is not germane. Obviously, it deals with public safety, but it also requires the Commissioner of Public Safety to certify this. So clearly, this is outside the scope of this bill. And I do want to reassure the body, however, that we are dealing with public safety in many other bills across this legislature legislature. But for this particular bill, this is not germane. It would require the Commissioner of Public Safety to certify this. I would offer that advice to the President.
Senator Nelson rises to a point of order under Rule 35.2 germaneness that the amendment is not germane to the underlying bill. Advice, Senator Putnam.
Mr. President and Senator Nelson, thank you for your concern. A couple things real quickly. My understanding is that this, as essentially an LGA bill, is one of 43 other references to this exact kind of bill within this statute. So if this is not germane, 43 other laws are not. This is clearly an LGA situation, so it's deeply relevant. And when it comes to public safety, I would suggest, Mr. President, to our colleague that my constituent still doesn't feel safe. People throughout Minnesota still don't feel safe. Clearly, we haven't done enough, and here's an opportunity for us to do more, and to do so in a way that reduces property taxes, helps people feel more safe, and empowers all of Minnesota. So this bill is not only deeply germane, it's incredibly important, and I urge you to allow us to discuss it more.
Advice, Mr. President. Here.
Oh, sorry, Senator Dietzig, further advice.
Thank you, Mr. President. Statute 477A is the local government statute, and that is referred to 45 times in the bill. This is proposing a new local government aid program. There are at least 2 other local government aid programs, new local government aid programs proposed in this bill. This amendment is about public safety, and in these local government aid statutes, that's what cities do. They help keep us safe. So this is additional aid to cities, which is what local government aid programs are, additional aid to cities, also additional aid to counties to help public safety. It is a local government aid program. This is germane.
Further advice.
Mr. President, additional advice?
Senator Dietzig.
Thank you. Senator Nelson mentioned that this amendment has the Department of Public Safety Commissioner certifying. The new market tax credits also has the Department of Deed Commissioner certifying. So there are other commissioners that certify programs in this bill.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm looking at 7.43, and I've looked, and I don't see a reference to the Department or the Commissioner of Public Safety in the original bill. And so this would create a new transfer or appropriation to that agency if I read the word distribute correctly.
Members, in reviewing the amendment and the bill title, I find that the point of order is not well taken. The amendment is germane to the bill. Further discussion to the A18 Amendment.
Mr. President, I forgot to ask for a roll call.
Are you shocked?
Please. Sorry.
Senator Putnam.
I just wrote to say thanks, Mr. President. That's all.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. I
Thank
might
you.
get in trouble later. Any further discussion to the A18 Amendment? Senator Nelson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Well, we have had a lengthy discussion on this, and I would just note that we have significant resources for public safety in other parts of this bill. I do find it interesting that the amendments continue to go to this one bank of funds, so to speak, of not providing even a 1% tax, not providing even a 1% effective tax rate reduction for those who pay the most in Minnesota. But what I would say is that I believe the public safety aid is well covered in other parts of the bills before us. And at this point, I would encourage a no vote.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to question the amendment on, as I mentioned before, but I think I was giving you advice on the wrong point of order. But point of order on Rule 7.4, Article sub number 3. Mr. President, I don't believe in the original bill the Department of Public Safety was made an appropriation, and on line, where is it? 2.11 says the Commissioner of Public Safety, it's must certify, I'm sorry. I thought it said must distribute, Mr. Chair, or Mr. President. I withdraw my point.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members. Listen, what this amendment does is prevents the reduction of taxes for Minnesotans that make over $284,000 a year. That's then $100 million spent on public safety. This is a simple vote, members. If you want to pay $100 million for public safety, vote yes on this amendment. And to the senator from Rochester's point, I don't know that we're going to get a judiciary and public safety bill, but I know that if you put this amendment on, we have a better chance to find that funding for public safety. Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will take the roll on the A18 Amendment. Call in Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes no.
Anderson votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Coleman votes no.
Coleman votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes no.
Gazelka votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes no.
Lang votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Miller votes no.
Miller votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Ingebrigtsen votes no.
Ingebrigtsen votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Westrom votes no.
Western votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Thomasoni votes no.
Thomasoni votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Johnson votes no.
Johnson votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Sengen votes no.
Sengen votes nay. Senator Friends to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report Senator Eaton votes aye.
Eaton votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Isaacson votes aye.
Isaacson votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Marty votes aye.
Marty votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Port votes aye.
Port votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Rest votes aye. Senator Friends.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I report Senator Newton votes aye.
Newton votes aye. Senator Friends.
And Senator Torres-Ray votes aye.
Torres-Ray votes aye. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 29 ayes and 34 nays, the motion does not prevail. The amendment is not adopted. Senator Abler.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And sometimes it's good to look back at a bill we did before and see what we've learned. I'm not sure if people remember the topic of revenue recapture. Minnesota has kind of a dandy little program that if you happen to lease a building from the county, if you happen to be a private hospital, a nonprofit that leases a building from the county, you can use the state for your collection agency. Pretty snazzy. And so there's some great benefits. Like it's such a low hassle way. Like if you want to do a standard debt collection, you actually have to get a judgment. But if you happen to lease from a county and happen to be like a major health plan in the state, you don't have to get a judgment. It's just so simple. You pay $15 to the state. And if you want to garnish wages to collect the money that you're owed from this person who got sick, you have to go to court and you have to get a ruling. But with the state program, you can just garnish their wages. It's remarkable. And if you've already worked out a plan with the hospital, they really can't do much to you. But with this little nifty program, you don't have to even respect the plan the hospital has set up. For $15, you can start collecting money. And so this was a problem, and thanks to Senator Nelson, she had some information in last year's bill to check out and see, well, just how many of these are there? And without, embarrassing any of the major plans, one is pretty big, starts with a C. One is pretty big, starts with an E, and one has two letters, one of which is an H. And so, not to impugn any of these companies, but I told them when we chatted about this last year, stop doing this. This is wrong. And so, Mr. President, I'd like to move the A51 Amendment.
Senator Abler moves the A51 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Abler moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows, page 161 after line 26. Insert this is the A51 Amendment.
To the A51 Amendment, Senator Abler.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this would simply stop this, this bad behavior. But, Mr. President, the state collects $15 on each of these transactions, and so if they can't collect the money from these companies, and so they can just, stiff our constituents, it would cost the state money. So, Mr. President, I have to object to my amendment under Rule 7.4 that it takes money that we don't have put aside, and tragically, I'm going to agree that you're going to rule that it's in violation of Senate rules. But, Mr. President, it should be in violation of moral rules to have this kind of thing going on, and I hope there's some way we can put a stop to this. It is simply wrong, and these great companies who do so many good things should simply terminate this behavior. So with that, Mr. President, I'd like to withdraw the A51 with regret. Thank you.
Senator Abler regrets and withdraws the A51 amendment.
Mr. President.
Senator Nelson, is this
thank
to
you.
the regrettable A51 amendment?
I just want to be very brief with Senator Abler's amendment. I do want to thank him for bringing this, and I know that it's out of order, so we understand that, but I do want the members to know the reason we know that it would impact the general fund and by how much is only because of the good work that this body did last year. We asked for a report so we could begin to understand what's happening here, and I want to assure the body that we are going to continue to work on this in other settings.
Just as a point of information, technically speaking, it was not ruled out of order. He took it down himself before it was ruled out of order, but it was going to be coming rather quickly. Senator Wickland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to add a comment, I want to express my support for the amendment that was withdrawn. Even though it was not included, I do support continuing to look at this issue. I think it is something that we should discontinue as a practice for these entities, and it's affecting people who have very limited ability and have low incomes, and being able to access their tax refunds like that can really have a detrimental effect on their budget planning and incomes, and it just needs to be a practice that we discontinue. So I just wanted to express my support. Thanks.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if Senator Nelson would please yield.
She will yield. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Nelson, I have a question relating to Section 17. Line 46.7, which relates to the small business tax credits for the insurance program that we talked about on the floor yesterday. My question is, my first question is, as a small business owner, do I have to buy the insurance that we talked about yesterday, the family leave insurance we bought yesterday in order to get the tax credit? Do I have to buy the insurance for my employees?
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. I'm not able to locate the line in the bill, but I understand your question. And the thing to note is that as an employer, are you asking as an employer? Yes. As an employer, employers, in order to receive a credit, you do have to purchase the insurance. But also, there is a credit for if the plan is such that the employee must purchase the insurance. You know, different benefits are set up differently with different employees, and that credit also is available should the employee be the one that needs to pay the premium.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. My question then reflects back to earlier comments by Senator Dietzich. I think it's unclear that the insurance purchase or the insurance policy is required because as I read this, I currently do provide paid family leave for my employees. I just do it directly. So based on your question, I would encourage you to make that a little bit more clear in Section 17. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Nelson.
Mr. President and Senator Johnson, yes, the direct employer piece would also qualify for that credit that you are already paying. But I do want to be clear for the body, my earlier statement was not accurate.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Senator Nelson, in response to that then, I wonder why anybody would ever buy the insurance. I've I've literally tried every combination of employees and payments based on what I pay a year, which is about $600, or based on what I was told yesterday, that this family medical leave insurance would cost the same as short-term disability. I pay about $680 an employee for that. And based on the language here, if I had an insurance plan for this coverage, I would only be able to receive a tax credit of half of what I paid, which would be about $300 to $400. Whereas if I don't have an insurance policy, then I can take out the tax credit I get is $3,000. And I've done every type of equation to figure out when it would be advantageous for me to actually buy the insurance. I could pay an employee making about $27 to $30 an hour for 24 weeks of leave before I even cover the costs of paying for the insurance. Unless, in fact, this leave insurance is going to cost me more like $6,000 a year versus $600 a year, then I understand your numbers. But I've worked for several hours trying to figure out how this would even be worth me paying for it, and I can't make the numbers work. Thank you, Senator Nelson.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So let me just clarify the numbers. The maximum credit is $3,000 per employee. That is 50% refund credit if the employer purchases that through the insurance plan, or 100% if it's fully paid for by the employer. So I'll be glad to work with you to make sure that your questions are being answered, but I'm not sure the math that you're looking at there, but I'll be glad to work with you about that, Senator Johnson.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have.
Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will give the bill, maybe not, Senator Eichhorn.
Sorry, Mr. President. I'm glad to sneak in. I appreciate that. Didn't realize I wasn't on your list. I thought I was already on there, so thank you for indulging me. Mr. President, I know we've had a good discussion about property taxes already, and this flyer we got on our desk references some of the business property taxes and how bad they are in Minnesota, and that's certainly true. But over the last month, it's been very challenging talking to constituents, and I didn't hear from a single business about their property taxes, although with how high they're getting with the 28% of total property tax, even though they're only 12% of market value, they certainly need a break as well. But over the last month, I didn't hear from a single business, but I did hear from hundreds of constituents very concerned about their assessment increases. I heard from folks like Betty, who's lived in her house for almost 60 years, that got a 38% increase this year. She's worried if she's still going to be able to stay in her home. I heard from Scott, a retired veteran, also living on a fixed income, that doesn't know with his 31% increase in his property tax assessment how he's going to be able to stay in his home. I heard from Karen, a retired teacher, with a similar increase. I heard from another individual who lives on a small lake just north of Grand Rapids, had a property value of $350,000 in 2022. For 2023, that value is going up to over $850,000. Some of these increases are just absolutely insane. I don't think when my new legislative assistant, Victor Farrell, came on that he expected he was going to be spending a lot of his time consoling individuals about their property taxes. I think he thought this job was probably going to be much different than what it's shaped up to be the last month and a half. And property taxes statewide have been challenging. You know, statewide it's been about 19% increases. In Itasca County, the average increase is 31%. My own property, I saw 34%. At another property I own, it was about 40%. In a neighboring county, in Senator Box County in St. Louis, it was about 37%. And people are asking, you know, how did we get here and what can we do? We've seen the unfortunate situation where you've got the assessors blaming the legislature and the commissioners. You've got the commissioners blaming the legislature and the assessors, and you've got the legislature blaming the county folks. I know we like to let these counties have as much local control as we can, and most of this is driven by the county, although there is some guidance from the state. People keep asking, what can we do? They've gotten to understand that it's not the legislature that necessarily created this problem, but they're looking to us to help find some kind of solution. They're not looking necessarily for, you know, more money in property tax refunds, although they do say that is a helpful piece and they really do appreciate it. They're looking for more guidelines and more guardrails. So one of the pieces we put together, and I will offer the A15 Amendment, Mr. President.
Senator Eichhorn moves the A15 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Eichhorn moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows, page 70 after line 15. This is the A15 Amendment.
To the A15 Amendment, Senator Eichhorn.
Thank you, Mr. President. And in talking with constituents, this is one of the things that had come up, and we'd floated this to many of the people we talked to out of the hundreds of emails and phone calls that we received. And what this amendment would do is it would cap the total amount of increased assessed value to no more than 2% a year on agriculture homestead and non-homestead and residential homestead and non-homestead properties. It does allow for a mechanism to an assessor to be able to do a greater increase at time of property sale. And it also says that anybody in one of those classifications of property cannot be taxed more than 1% of the total assessed value. This is one thing that a lot of these folks thought would go a long way to help put some guardrails on and could help keep people like Betty, that individual who's been in her home over 60 years and concerned about being able to stay in her home, an opportunity to keep being in her home. So that's why I offer this amendment, Mr. Chair. I did have many conversations on this, not only with residents I spoke to, but also with the business community, with my county commissioners. There are some concerns for the county commissioners on the front where you could potentially cap the amount of tax that could be levied on a property on the assessed value. And there's also some concern from the business community that those taxes could then be shifted to the business community, which they're already one of the highest in the country. And we certainly don't want to do that. So I wanted to bring this A15 amendment up to have the opportunity to talk about it because we've had so many good discussions around a proposal like this. I thought some of my colleagues in the front half of the room would maybe like this because it's very, very similar to what our friends in California do. That's why I thought maybe it would be something that we could find some agreement on. But with that, Mr. Chair, I think this amendment might end up causing more harm than good, but I thought it was a good discussion to bring up. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'm going to withdraw the A15 and offer the A17.
Senator Eichhorn withdraws the A15 Amendment. Senator Eichhorn moves the A16 Amendment. The
17, Mr.
17
President.
Amendment. The Secretary will report the A17 Amendment.
Senator Eichhorn moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows, page 69 after line 29. Insert this is the A17 Amendment.
To the A17 Amendment, Senator Eichhorn.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is a considerably more simple amendment that I think would create or get rid of a lot of the angst, a lot of the people I've talked to throughout my district that have been calling. And what this amendment would do is simply freeze assessment increases for the years 2023, 2024, and 2025. This in no way hinders a county or city's ability to take levy increases. It still allows them to do what they need to do on their end to raise revenue. But a lot of folks we talked to felt that this was a more transparent way for that to go forward. And a lot of folks feel that this is one mechanism that would make them feel comfortable that they might be able to continue to stay in their home. So I wanted to offer that for discussion. This was another piece that, as I was talking to the individuals that called, that said maybe this is a solution. So I wanted to bring this forward today as something that when I spoke to my county folks, they said, yeah, that's something we could maybe get behind. When I spoke to some of the business folks in my community, they said, well, are all properties included? And in this case, yes, every property classification would be included in this amendment. And the folks I talked to seem to think it was an okay idea. It does just kick the can down the road, unfortunately, a little bit, but it does provide some temporary comfort for folks that are really struggling with the 30 or more % increases they're seeing. So with that, I would open it up for discussion, Mr. President.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I stand in opposition to the amendment. I think we all understand that property taxes are indeed a very complicated subject. And at the end of the day, the reality of it is we can freeze those values, but it is not going to change the tax. Because taxes are not determined by the value. Taxes are determined by the levies that are charged by those units of government who receive property taxes as part of their income. I understand that there are some counties in which the assessors have blamed the legislature. It's just as unfair for the legislature to blame assessors. Assessors do not create value. They report value. They report value based on market studies that they complete and submit as of September 30th of each year. And at the end of the day, my friends, the market is the market. And when properties are sold for a certain price, even if it's much higher than the same property would have sold for the year before, that is what the market is. And so we can go ahead and talk and freeze values, actually, even if we do it for all classes, but we are not going to change their real estate taxes at the end of the day. Some years ago, there was a limited market value, and granted that process, that was before my time in the legislature, and that only dealt with 4 classes of property. But it became extremely difficult to unwind that at the end of the day. And if you have increasing property values and then all of a sudden take it off, all of a sudden you've got this pent-up value that comes on, and you create additional problems as well. And I think that for us to consider anything like this requires much more input, much more study from local units of government and from businesses and those type of individuals. Again, I repeat, to do this in order to stop the increase of real estate taxes is setting both us and our constituents up for disappointment. Thank you, and I would encourage a red vote on this amendment.
Senator Bingham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, honestly, I don't know if I can say it any better than Senator Weber just did. I will say that this is the same argument we use to talk against rent control measures as well. And so I find it a little disingenuous that we're using this argument when it fits their narrative, but whatever, different day. First, Mr. President, I'd ask for a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Bingham.
Thank you. I would urge a red vote on this for a couple reasons. So I'm not going to ask my friend from northern Washington County, who I know is a successful realtor, how this would impact real estate values of homes and how this would impact a growing county like the one we live in, along with Senator Kent. Because this would really hurt communities that are developing and growing, especially during this time. I'm going to reiterate another thing that Senator Weber said. When you don't establish your taxes by the value, that is done by the tax rate that is set. When you expand your tax value, you can use that value to lower your tax rate, and don't confuse levy and tax rate. So for these reasons, this is bad policy to do on the floor. And I mean, again, local control is everything when it comes to being able to deal with a local market with developers. And this takes all of that out. And I think that it's important that we have a further conversation about this, but I don't believe that this will help with the sticker shock that folks are happening. This goes against free market, and would urge a red vote.
Senator Klein.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to join the majority lead from the Property Tax Division Committee. in opposing this amendment. And I'm astonished that a proposal to have government make decisions about values of items should supersede the free market in deciding what value an item stands at. That's an astonishing proposal, and would be astonishing even if it came from my party. It's even more so coming from the other. I am concerned, in addition, if I was, let's say I had a home that property value was frozen at 2022 levels, and it became 2023, and then it became 2024, and now it's 2025, it's still frozen at those 3-year-old levels, and now I want to sell it. And I know that it's worth, quite a bit more than it was in 2022, but asking that price would be fraudulent because it has not been appraised at that price. It's been regulated at the 2022 level. If I wanted to remortgage it, refinance it, once again, it would not be able to obtain the remortgage that I am trying to seek because it's valued at a 3-year-old level. There's unbelievable unintended consequences of this bill, this amendment. Would Senator Eichhorn yield for a question?
Senator Eichhorn will yield. Senator Klein.
Senator Eichhorn, we recently discussed a proposal voted on by the citizens of St. Paul. They were concerned about rising costs for housing in their community, and they, on a referendum basis, voted to limit the amount that rents could increase for apartments year over year in an attempt to provide just the type of relief that I think you're after here. Did you support that proposal, Senator Eichhorn?
Senator Eichhorn.
Mr. President, Senator Klein, I do not support rent control.
Senator Klein.
Well, so will Senator Eichhorn continue to yield?
He will. Senator Klein.
Senator Eichhorn, can you explain how that proposal is substantively different from what you've laid before the body?
Senator Eichhorn.
Mr. President, Senator Klein, this is vastly different. It just puts some guardrails on what the county's assessors can assess property for, and it is just a temporary. So it will switch back in 2025.
Senator Klein.
Well, I thank Senator Eichhorn for yielding. I have no further questions for him, but I will say it is not substantively different from the rent control policies advanced by the City of St. Paul, which sought to accomplish the same end, control housing costs for people who saw that they were going out of control, and instead imposed government regulations to set those costs. And so I think they are horse apiece, and I urge a red vote.
Senator Bingham.
Mr. President, I withdraw my roll call.
Senator Bingham withdraws her request for a roll call. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the A17 Amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The amendment is not adopted. Further amendments. Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the A28 Amendment.
Senator Housley moves the A28 Amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Housley moves to amend House File Number 3669 as follows. Page 103, after line 10, insert, this is the A28 Amendment.
To the A28 Amendment, Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, many of us represent small cities and towns with under 5,000 residents, and due to the inequities in the formula used for aid and tax-based sharing, many of these lack aid. And in addition to that, many of these cities don't even get LGA. So what this amendment does, it fills this inequity and gets help to these small cities and towns. The formula is based on a municipality's net contribution to fiscal disparities and capped at $200,000 annually, which approximate what the city would get if it were to be eligible for the gas tax. 40 small towns and cities would qualify for this, approximately $1.9 million in aid during the first year. And if the city qualifies then for the gas tax, they'd no longer be eligible for the program. I have talked to the author of the tax bill about this, and in light of people are very hungry and wanting to get to possibly a pork chop, I will withdraw the amendment, Mr. President, but I do hope that it can be talked about in conference committee. Thank you.
Senator Housley withdraws the A28 Amendment. Further discussion? Seeing none, the Secretary will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 3669, a bill for an act relating to taxation.
Third reading. Final discussion before we close the bill. Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Well, this is a great tax bill, and thank you, Senator Nelson, for bringing it forward. And I appreciate all the conversations, but one of the things I've heard today on the floor is about this horrible thing called the free market. What is this free market? I just thought, let's remind ourselves what the free market really is. It's for each of us as individuals to make our own choices about what we want to do with the money in our checkbook. So, for example, when you go to the grocery store, you use your money to speak to the market freely. You choose what kind of eggs. Oh, isn't there a lot of choices there? You choose all kinds of vegetables, meat, a whole variety of things that you do. That is you speaking to the market with making choices about how you spend your money. That free market is incredibly valuable. And it makes a difference. Something doesn't sell, they quit. If something does sell and it's robust, you get more. What more could that be? However, the other side of it is a government market. It says, here's the choices we put before you. Take it or leave it. Here's the choices you have. We have decided we're going to spend this way. That is not free market. And I want an opportunity for the people of Minnesota to keep more of their money that they earn, because you know the government doesn't earn a single penny except, and doesn't have any money except what it takes from the people. You better have a really good reason to take it from the people. There are certain things, roads and bridges, public safety. There are a lot of things that are really, really important. But after that, leave the money in the pockets of the individuals to make their own free market choices according to their needs, because they know them better anytime than any government will. And so, members, I'm very grateful for this bill because that's exactly what it does. It puts money back in the pocket of those who, by the way, have already paid the money in, and so we're giving it back. What a novel idea. And so we have that in this bill today. I'm very grateful for that, very supportive of that. And members, I ask you to vote yes on House File 3669. Thank you, Mr. President.
Additional final comments. Senator Uyghur.
Thank you, Mr. President. One item very important to Oakdale is included, and I want to thank Senator Nelson and the other members of the committee for including it. Last year, the City of Oakdale was given the authority to put on the ballot this November a provision for a public works building, and which is sorely needed, as well as a public safety building. Due to inflation, the costs have gone up, and because of the changes made in this bill, there now is the possibility that they can go ahead with putting this on the ballot in November. The City Council met last night, and the Mayor, they asked that we please support this part of the bill. They also said perhaps in conference committee if the term for the issuance of the bonds might be extended to 35 to 40 years as it's needed, so they are better prepared to address market volatility. Again, thank you for the provision included for Oakdale so that they can go to the voters and hopefully get approval for a half penny on a sales tax. Thank you.
Further discussion, any final discussion before we begin closing the bill? Any final discussion? Starting with Senator Klein.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and I will speak as a minority lead on the property tax division to the property tax provisions in this bill first. And first, I deeply want to thank Senator Weber for his leadership on the committee and for the property tax report that he developed, included bipartisan authors during the committee process and in the final committee product. And that was much appreciated. The committee was run with grace and organization, and a true example for how we should run things here in the Senate. Very grateful to Mr. Steinhoff, Mr. Sylvia, Ms. Broughton, Mr. Mickelberg, Mr. Arneson, Mr. Wilms, and Ms. Pollack for their tireless education of me as a new member, on their extreme patience and their depth of knowledge and their hard work, contributing to a great product. And to my own legislative assistant, Ms. Amanda Peterson, for her diligence and support throughout this process. I also want to deeply thank Senator Ann Rest, who has remained a mentor and also a tireless font of knowledge and education and wisdom for me as a new member, if not always with the saint-like patience demonstrated by the staff. So there are some things to like about this bill, and I'm very grateful that they were included. We know that property tax increases for residential homeowners and for all properties are a real source of alarm in this state, and Senator Weber in this report has taken some serious steps to address that. Very appreciative for the targeted refund increase, for the homestead market value exclusion expansion proposed by Senator Rest, for the senior citizen property tax deferral, and for the electrical generation transition aid for communities that are trying to come off of coal plants, which will go a long way towards converting us to a green economy. The two major concerns with the property tax division report first were the failure to address local government aid and to update that formula calculation, which is out of date and obsolete, and not to provide increased local government aid to our communities when they are urgently in need of it for their needs, and to keep down their local taxes as well. And then the total elimination over several years of the corporate industrial tax. Members, I haven't been here as long as tax leaders like Senator Bach and so forth, but they will attest that when that CI tax was in place, it was done, when it was put in place, it was done in exchange for a significant decrease in the property tax rates for corporations. It was a trade-off. The money was intended to be dedicated to education as a new Minnesota miracle to keep down local property taxes and fund our educational system at a statewide level, which I think is a laudable idea. It was associated with an inflator so that these costs would automatically keep up with inflation year over year. It was visionary. Its complete elimination now without resetting the property tax classification rate for these properties is a huge boon for them, and I hope we can address that more seriously in conference. To the overall bill altogether, we once again are concerned that in a season of massive subsidies, this bill gives all of the money back. Democrats agree that we should give some tax relief to Minnesotans in this time, particularly working Minnesotans and middle-class Minnesotans. But this bill, of course, gives huge tax relief to very wealthy people, to the wealthiest among us. And it leaves us no room in our budget to address opportunities that I think we all see around us in a season of huge subsidy. Opportunities to make sure that people aren't living on tents in our streets, that our educational system is fully funded, and that something we call the cross-subsidy for special education is fully paid. That we address issues with public safety, that we pay cops more, and we hire more cops, and we train them better. An amendment was offered to that effect on the floor today to give $100 million to every community in this state to pay for cops. And I think Minnesotans would have appreciated that, but it was voted down. And lastly, this large expenditure as a one-time proposal places our long-term state fiscal stability at risk. So I'm grateful for the work on the committee. I think there's a lot of work to be done to make this a more visionary bill, and I thank the President.
Senator Dietzig.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Senator Rest, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, and she is our minority lead on taxes, I would like to thank the committee members and staff. It takes teamwork to do our job, and staff, from our LAs to the pages to nonpartisan staff to our research staff in both bodies or in both parties. They keep the process moving and they make us look good. We all know that. I want to make sure the public knows that we truly appreciate them. And this bill in particular, I would like to thank the tax staff because I know they put a lot of time into this bill. I'll echo what Senator Klein said and thank the committee staff, Madeline Hoy and Brian Steinhoff, our DFL and Republican researchers, Krista Broughton and Dan Mickelberg, and then the nonpartisan staff. They are always available. I was emailing, just sending a note because I knew I'd forget it if I waited until the morning at about midnight, and they responded right back. And that happens, more than not. So I do appreciate their work and their advice. So thank you to Nora Pollock, Eric Sylvia, Jay Wilms, and Bjorn Artisan. As I said before, many people might not think taxes are fun, but I think we do have fun on this committee. Senator Rest, Senator Klein, Senator Murphy, and I, we appreciate the good, thoughtful, civil discussions that we have in the committee. I tell people that we can disagree, but we have a healthy, good debate. And I think we had that here this afternoon as well, members, and say thank you for that. As I said and as Senator Klein said, we agree and support some of the provisions in this bill, but disagree with some others. I have concerns that this is a large, permanent tax cut at a time when the economy is still rebounding from COVID. Senator Nelson has mentioned that we do have a large budget reserve. That has taken some work, and that is helpful, but think back to April, May 2020. We were worried if all that was going to go away. And so we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what's coming next. And I think we just need to be prepared. The economy is fluid. It's unpredictable. We have a war in Ukraine. We have others saying that there's a recession. We should be cautious. In the discussion today, the Senate Republican majority chose to fund tax cuts for the wealthy over education and paying for special education and our students. This bill prioritizes tax cuts for the wealthy over broader property tax cuts for homeowners and renters and housing. It prioritizes tax cuts to the wealthy over public safety for our communities. Some people might want tax cuts, but others want to make sure that we have good schools for our kids, that we have stable housing for people to live in, and that they feel safe in their communities. We can do that. We can do better. I urge a no vote.
Senator Weber.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to thank all the staff members who have assisted in the property tax subcommittee as well as the full tax committee. They are indeed a talented group of people, and without them, many of us would be lost. I also want to thank the members of the Property Tax Subcommittee, my Vice Chair, Senator Chamberlain, the lead, Senator Klein, our members, Senator Jasinski, and Senator Murphy. You know, as we go through this, we've had a vigorous debate as it relates to property taxes. We understand that certainly in the property tax system, it's truly the proverbial pebble in the pool. You do one thing and the ripples start to go out and affect many and every property class and what have you. And as we go forward, I think that we've had, by having a thorough discussion of the property tax issue, by talking about things such as values, such as rates, such as levies, I think all units of government have been reminded the role that they play in that process. And I think all units of government will certainly look at their budgets as carefully as possible as we go forward. As we consider the issues of LGA and CPA, we recognize that they are there for a purpose. And certainly as we go forward, and not necessarily this year, but in future years, all of those elements deserve an opportunity to be reviewed. And as we step forward today and with the property tax report, I believe that we have addressed many of the issues as it relates to many, if not all, of our classes of property. Certainly homestead exemption amounts needed to be increased for every homestead amount that was there. And we have done that within our report. And we have also taken a look at the special property tax refund, made adjustments there as we could. And as we go forward and we take this bill into conference committee, we will certainly look at a variety of issues that are brought to us from the other body as well, and look forward to bringing back a good report, a solid conference report for all of us to vote for and to progress the people of Minnesota. To the people of Minnesota, I would say we have heard your voice. We have heard you say, give it back. And within this report, this tax bill, we are accomplishing that. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. President and members. I, too, must offer the greatest thanks for our tax staff. They are tremendous in every way and always on call and always have the answer. And I don't think they've ever been stumped. And I want to specifically thank Nora Pollock, Eric Sylvia, Bjorn Arneson, Jay Wilms. They are quite the quartet, let me tell you. They are unstoppable. I thank them for their expertise, and also, members, I thank them for their patience. I absolutely am so thankful for them. And I also want to thank my committee administrator, Brian Steinhoff, and of course our researchers, Dan Mickelberg and Krista Broughton for the DFL. And then my committee legislative assistant, Madeline Hoy, who has been phenomenal in keeping track of all the things that I need to know or do or should know to do. And her insight is quite remarkable, and also always on call 24/7. I thank her so much. And I'm glad, I believe my intern is here today as well, Elizabeth. I'm so glad to have you on the tax floor today. Elizabeth is interning in my office. And then, of course, members, I thank the tax members. You have been phenomenal. I like all of the thoughtful discussion that we have in the tax committee. We do not look for easy answers, but we do look for answers and for positions that are going to be good for our state. Particularly, I want to thank my vice chair, Senator Coleman, who has stepped into a big role and is doing a wonderful job. And I want to thank the ranking member, Senator Rest, certainly one who is so knowledgeable about taxes and so helpful. I appreciate her greatly. And the tax members, Senators Bach, Chamberlain, Dietzick, Gazelka, Klein, and Weber. It's a wonderful tax team, and I just thank you so incredibly much. And then, of course, the property tax chair, Senator Weber, just the right person for that job. His experience and expertise has been incredibly valuable in putting together the excellent property tax provisions in this bill. So I want to close with just a couple things. I think, we've said it all, as Senator Kubley used to say, but I haven't said it. But I will be brief. The bill before us, members, is what Minnesotans need today. Minnesotans are struggling with massive historic inflation. At the same time, their state government is sitting on massive historic budget surpluses that keep growing, by the way. Today's report, another $1.15 billion over projections in revenue. And some will say, well, that might not always be, Senator Nelson, and it might not. We hope these good expansions continue, but they don't always. That is true. And that's why, in the wisdom of this body, we now have a $2.5 billion reserve fund. So we are prepared. And I know, I think it's unconscionable to think that at a time when Minnesotans need permanent ongoing tax relief, that we're going to sit here up in the state capitol and we're going to hold on to those hard-earned dollars and we're going to say, oh, we know how to spend it best, or we might need it in the future. It's what future legislatures are for, is to address any type of issues such as that. And I also want to make clear, I want to make sure the public understands, I know the tax committee members do because we've had many hearings on this. Minnesota is a progressively taxed state. In fact, one of the most progressively taxed states in the nation, which means the people who make the most pay at the highest rates. And we do that in Minnesota because we care for all Minnesotans, and we want all Minnesotans to be able to have good educations. All of those things that we talk about and that we do in this body. But when you have a state like Minnesota, where already, that's our current law now, 20% do not pay any income tax, and then there is 10% who pays 59% of the income tax. So whenever you do any type of an income tax reduction, you're going to see some interesting or things that could be misconstrued, which is why the bill before us is so clear in that the effective tax rate is the greatest. Obviously, for those at the lowest income levels, they continue to receive no income tax. And also, those in the third decile, according to this bill, they'll have 100% of their current income tax liability wiped away. And in the middle, the fifth decile, the sixth decile, you'll see 56% or 32% effective tax cut rate or a 26% effective tax cut rate. And when you get down to the bottom decile, those people that pay 59% of the income taxes, those people that some people like to call the rich, or this is a tax bill for the rich, let me say they are getting the smallest effective tax cut rate. They're getting a 1% effective tax cut rate. So you cannot say that this is a tax cut for the rich. This is a tax relief bill that goes to all Minnesotans. Ongoing, permanent tax relief, something that they need, and they need desperately now. So members, this is a good bill. It is the bill that we need now, and it does not pick winners and losers. We trust Minnesotans. It would be like going to the store and overpaying for your purchase and then coming back and saying, oh, I overpaid by $12 billion. But this clerk said, oh, that's too bad. We think we have better uses for these funds. We're not going to do that. We're going to return needed tax relief to all Minnesotans. And the last thing I must say on that Social Security income tax, it is high time we join the more than 30 other states who do not tax Social Security benefits. With that, I encourage a green vote.
Senator Lopez-Franzen.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. It's been a long day of talking about taxes, but it's an important discussion. And having served on the tax committee, I do also want to echo my colleagues' sentiments about thanking all of our staff who work so hard. This is complex, and I'm sure there's only a few that are experts, including Senator Rest, who was not able to be here, but we've been hearing from her throughout the debate in our text, so she's keeping us in line. I want to say, first of all, that as we are approaching the end of session, it's become quite clear what the priorities of the majority party are for the tax bill and other areas of our budget. Today, we're taking a very costly bill, and a bill that gives tax breaks and ignores a remarkable opportunity that we have to address the problems of Minnesotans and the communities across our state. And we've heard these repeatedly. They want to be addressed, whether it's the cross-subsidy, which a member of our caucus put an amendment to solve that. We had a press conference just yesterday with people here from all areas of our state and districts, school districts, telling us how important it is to fund this now to deal with the big stress on their budgets. And we are going to see some drastic changes in the school system because of that lack of funding. And sadly, we are using one-time tax, permanent tax cuts. If it was one-time tax cuts, it would be a different story. I keep hearing from my Republican colleagues that it's not a budget year, but hence here we are in a non-budget year making very, very critical decisions about our long-term projections. We were just in a leadership meeting yesterday, and we were talking about the economy and the budget and the war, and we need to be prudent because we need to have a safety net. We already do with the state reserves, but members, what we're going through as an economy, as a state, as a country is a very unique time where we have to be prudent with how we spend taxpayer dollars. It's not that we can do better or more or make decisions on their behalf necessarily. It's about the stability of our state economy. That is our job. That is what budget making for the future of our state entails. So we're not questioning where people need to spend their money. We are really being prudent so that we don't fall in a fiscal cliff and that we don't have a recession that actually would hurt Minnesota and Minnesotans in a more permanent fashion. And members, DFLers are not against tax cuts. I repeat, we are not against tax cuts. We are about responsible tax cuts for those who need them the most, especially after these last few years where members of our communities have struggled. And I have very wealthy colleagues and neighbors in my district that I represent compared to other communities, and they're struggling too. So we want to make sure that we help all Minnesotans, not just those who are at the top. We are looking for responsible and offered responsible tax cuts in a form of amendments throughout the day that would put money in the pockets of Minnesotans and Minnesota families. But like today, we keep hearing that they're not for this bill, they're to be rejected because the Republican majority actually are the ones who know what's best for the rest of the state. Each and every time our amendments have been rejected. Members, when we're trying to put a state budget, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of different perspectives, and we really call on our colleagues to come together to make the best that we can out of this bill. And unfortunately, this bill is one-sided. It puts us at peril economically for years to come. And we have an unprecedented surplus, and we have to use that opportunity to make a difference for every Minnesotan. This bill fails Minnesota. It fails our schools, it fails our working families, and it fails our communities. And above all, it's not what the Republican majority says, because it does not help everyone. It does help the wealthiest Minnesotans with tax breaks, and in fact, more than $240 million in tax breaks go to those earning above $250,000 every year. And those tax breaks will flow to them each and every year because these tax cuts will be permanent, no matter what our budget situation looks like next year when we come back to the legislature, when you all come back to the legislature. To be clear, $240 million in yearly tax breaks for the wealthiest Minnesotans is 8 times more than what the Republican majority approved for our schools. Remember that bill? Just over $30 million. The $240 million represents funding that could use to address our housing shortage, our preventing crime, like we tried to do with an amendment of $100 million that was denied on the floor earlier today, or it would bring down the cost of health care for families and child care, which is a bill that keeps growing in family budgets. It begs the question, what are we fighting for? Members, in contrast, for more than 500,000 Minnesotans, over 540,000 struggling taxpayers across the state will get no benefit, zero benefit from this bill we're about to pass. Let me repeat, 550,000 taxpayers that at the lower end of the income scale will get no benefit at all. That number of Minnesota taxpayer is left out of this bill will fill every seat of target field more than 13 times. Just visualize that. Who are we fighting for? So in reality, this bill is also the Republicans' majority education bill, the health care bill, their housing bill, and the public safety bill. And why do I say that? Because it spends all the money in one bill and prevents us from putting resources to all those areas and important priorities for our state and our communities. Just this week, I reiterate, we had parents, teachers, and school leaders, some from Edina School District, from Hopkins School District that I also represent, and my colleague to my right, school leaders from across the state came to the Capitol, had a press conference begging us to help them, begging us to spend dollars on special education. Members, this is mental health support. This is supports for school for kids who are struggling. And we are saying no. And we voted no earlier on an amendment that could have fixed that. This is embracing every school district, this special education cross-subsidy that when I ran 10 years ago was one of the first things I heard my district was struggling with, and I still hear their plea for support. Members, again, we are not against tax cuts, but we regret the day that we prioritize wealthy tax breaks over all the other important priorities of our state, especially our kids. We regret not putting in our state's future our kids first and our families. So to Minnesotans who want us to both cut taxes and address the very real problems that you're facing in your daily budget, we are listening to you and we have proposals for you. We have the funding right now to do both, to help families and give responsible tax cuts. But members, taglines don't solve problems. Coming together, working together does, and that's what we need to do, and this bill fails in that. So I urge a no vote, and I hope that we can come together in negotiations to actually bring something that can fix the real problems real Minnesotans are facing. Thank you.
Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Let's rewind to 2021. Less than a year ago, this chamber passed a bipartisan, 2-year, $51 billion general fund budget. Fast forward to present day, we have a $9 billion plus surplus in less than 1 year. Why do we have that surplus? It's very simple. The state is overtaxing Minnesotans. The state of Minnesota is over-collecting from the people. And what do we do? What do we say? What does this tax bill do? Gives the money back to the people of Minnesota with permanent, ongoing tax relief. So hardworking Minnesotans have more money in their pocket every single paycheck, week after week, month after month, year after year. And not only do we put more money in the pockets of hardworking Minnesotans, but this tax bill completely eliminates state income taxes on Social Security benefits. Minnesota is one of only 12 states that still taxes Social Security benefits. And we believe now is the time to give our seniors this much-deserved relief. Let me be very clear. If you pay income taxes in Minnesota, you will have more money in your pocket as a result of this tax bill. The question was asked, who are we fighting for? We're fighting for senior citizens. We're fighting for hardworking Minnesotans. Members, we're fighting for the taxpayers. Vote yes.
The Secretary will take the roll on House File 3669 as amended. Call on Senator Jasinski to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson votes aye.
Anderson votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Coleman votes aye.
Coleman votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Gazelka votes aye.
Gazelka votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Lang votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Chamberlain votes aye.
Chamberlain votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Ingebrigtsen votes aye.
Ingebrigtsen votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Duckworth votes aye.
Duckworth votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Senator Westrom votes aye.
Westrom votes aye. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Goggin votes no.
Goggin votes no.
Yeah.
Calling Senator Friends to report members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Eaton votes no.
Eaton votes nay. Senator Friends.
Senator Isaacson votes no.
Isaacson votes no. Senator Friends.
Senator Marty votes no.
Marty votes no. Senator Friends.
Senator Newton votes aye.
Newton votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Port votes no.
Port votes nay. Senator Friends.
Senator Rest votes aye.
Rest votes aye. Senator Friends.
Senator Torres Ray votes no.
Torres Ray votes nay. Senator Friends.
And Senator Wickland votes no.
Wickland votes nay. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I forgot to let you know that our good friend Senator Thomasoni votes aye.
Thomasoni votes aye. All members having voted with the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 42 ayes and 22 nays, House File 3669 as amended does pass and is title agreed to. Moving to the 13th order of business. Without objection, the following senators will be excused from today's session. Senator Murphy all day. Senator Fateh 2:30 p.m. to the end of session. Senator Herr 4:20 p.m. to the end of session. Senator Goggin 3:40 to 6 p.m. Announcements. Senator Rosen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, there's a pork chop with your name on it at CHS Field, and they are just waiting for us to come. Party started at 5. It's going to go till through the night, and sure would love to have you come. Let's go get to know each other and have a libation. Thank you.
Further brief comments. Seeing none, Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate do now adjourn until Thursday, May 12th at 12 noon.
To that motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The motion does prevail. The Senate is adjourned.